What's up, everyone? Welcome to the inaugural episode of The Rain Delay. I'm your host, Mike Giannini, and along with me are my co-hosts, Nick DeCicco and Justin Avedissian. And during the Rain Delay, we're going to be talking about the most important news in high school sports as well as professional sports. Nick, Justin, thank you for coming.
Thanks, Mike.
We're also going to have some special guests throughout the year. For instance, Coach Chris Olson of the Wayne Hills Patriots, John Goldstein, and even Claudio Canonico, owner of Right Way Driving. We're going to open the show today with Wayne Hills home opener this week against Patterson Eastside. Yep. What do you think some of Coach Olson's expectations are for this week?
Well, there's no doubt. First, obviously, we expect to win. But I think he really wants us to play smarter than we did last week. Hackensack was a great team, but we really killed ourselves. A lot of penalties, blown coverages, drop passes. So I think we really got to address those issues.
Some of those refs were overreacting on the calls. I mean, some of those calls weren't even good calls.
Yeah, a couple tough calls, but you're going to get that. It was a big game. MSU varsity was there, and we were away, so you never know what you're going to get.
Correct.
And you really don't want any big thing happening on the first game. I mean, the refs want to control the environment, set the tone for the season, really. But as Justin said, we're going to have high expectations for this game. We got to do what we got to do best.
And let's talk about some keys to success throughout the game. We have the run game, which, was going to be tough because Troy Zafino is out with the knee injury. We have Justin Beverage in the back. We have Robbie Schiller. We have Christian Rodriguez at fullback, Nick DeCicco at fullback, Dom Santoro at fullback. I mean, I think the run game is going to be solid. The pass game, what do you guys think about the pass game with all these receivers that they have?
Well, right now it's kind of harder because without Troy, I mean, he was a dynamic back. He could go out in the spread offense and be a wide receiver. But now Andrew Monahan and Eric Moskowitz, like last week against Hackensack, have to come up with big plays and try to make us a dominant force out on the wide receiver core, which they are very capable of doing.
Even Mike Garino stepped up a little bit last week. What do you think about that, Justin?
It's really no surprise. I mean, we've been playing with Mike for a long time. Everyone knows he can do it. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it and showing the people.
Eric Moskowitz dropping a few passes, but you know what? Regaining his confidence, and after halftime, coming back out with a few good catches. We had Joey Lane on a good catch.
Yeah.
But how can we forget about Wally J's special teams? Kickoff especially. I mean those guys on kickoff.
Yeah. We really pride ourselves on special teams. They won us a state championship last year. We spend about half an hour on it every day, and he just prepares more than anybody. So, he does a great job.
He does. He actually tries to make us realize how important special teams are in the game. And sometimes we take it for granted, but it's something that makes everybody a winner or loser. Just like the Jets beat the who were they playing last week? The Jets were playing the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The Jets blocked the punt, got the game-tying touchdown, and then special teams again got a 50-yard field goal.
You're right, Nick. Regaining momentum is big, and especially in last week's game, which Wayne Hills had a 2-point lead over Hackensack, but you know what? They went into halftime with a completely different mindset. They came out saying, we got to do something, and they did. They won 30-7, which was unbelievable, especially without Troy at running back. One last thing, game prediction. What's the score prediction of this?
Right now, I gotta say Wayne Hills 48, Eastside 6. But I know Eastside they play hard. They try to win the games. But one thing that we have to do as a team is make them quit early by scoring points, running the ball right down their throat like Wayne Hills does every week.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give a score prediction. You really can't underestimate any opponent. Eastside loads of athletic kids. Anything could happen in any game. We saw in our last scrimmage, we played, we didn't play good. We showed up not really, playing our A game, and we got beat. So I think if we go out there, do what we're supposed to do, play smart, Wayne Hills football, we'll be fine.
I mean, especially last year, going back to last year's game that Wayne Hills played at Eastside, Wayne Hills blew them out. Second team came in, even blew them out with their starters. And you know what? Every player on that team is so strong, and they know what they can do, and they know what they have to do, and they just execute it. I mean, you guys think that how long do you think the starters are going to be in, first of all? And second of all, who are the big players on the second team that will step up?
Well, the starters, if everything goes to plan, we got to play hard and do everything right. But it could possibly halftime. It could be third, fourth quarter. You never know how the game's going to go. But the second team is probably Nick Lizzie on the line, Mike Abate at quarterback, and Jake Van Peen at running back. He's a young kid, but runs hard. I'm
going to go with Mike Giannini, player to watch. A kid tries really hard every day, and, he's a good player. So watch out for him.
And when we come back, concussions have become a big deal lately. When we get back with the rain delay, we will be discussing concussions in both professional sports and high school athletes.
But here we go, Lucas will inbound the corner with 3 minutes to go. She gets it to Giametta. Giametta corrals it, puts a shot on net. Deflected into the net, a goal by Brittany Galone, and Wayne Hills wins the North 1 Group 3 state championship.
Oh, baby, call your brains, Wayne Hills, state champions, baby.
Couldn't script it any better, Joe, couldn't script it any better myself. What a shot by Brittany Galone off the deflection from Jacqueline Giametta, and Wayne Hills wins the North 1 Group 3 state championship in dramatic fashion.
Welcome back to the rain delay, everyone. Right now we'll be discussing more about concussions between high school sports and pro sports. For instance, Sidney Crosby of the NHL and Austin Collie of the NFL took hard hits. I mean, what's happening?
Well, definitely both sports that you're going to run into concussions, heavy contact sports. Both would be huge blows to their teams. I mean, Sidney Crosby, arguably the best player in the league. He might not even be able to play this year, and that would just be a huge blow to the Penguins.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not even that big of a hockey fan, but everyone knows who Sidney Crosby is. Exactly. He's basically the face of the NFL. I mean, the NFL. Sorry,
NHL.
The NHL. And him not playing, that's going to take less money out of it, and it's just not going to be good for fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think this takes effect to ticket sales for games?
Oh,
because people want to come to see Sidney Crosby. Some people come from other countries and even other parts of the country.
Yep.
To come see Sidney Crosby. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. That's it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect ticket sales, jersey sales. And it's going to affect the overall atmosphere of the game. I mean, going to a Penguins game, you still got Malkin, who's a great player, but still, everyone goes to see Sidney Crosby. He's just so good.
Now I gotta disagree with you on the ticket sales. I mean, they still have to pay Sidney Crosby. They still gotta pay everybody. They're gonna keep the ticket sales up, even though it is worse for the fans because they're not seeing the best. They still have to do it. It's still business.
That's like going to see the Colts without Peyton Manning.
We've seen how that's been going. That's pretty bad.
Especially the last week's game, Peyton set out and.
Yeah, there's no question ticket sales are going to be tremendously affected.
Well, ticket sales, but not the price of the tickets now.
The price of the tickets is different. I mean, ticket sales for everyone going to see the games.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also got to think about the international field. I mean, everyone comes from Russia and Sweden and everywhere to come see him.
Now, but when Austin Collie again, I mean, he was one of the Colts, premier wide receivers, I would say.
Yeah.
And last year when he got that concussion, he was definitely not one of the same players he was.
Yeah, that's the thing about concussions. Teams are really conservative in a way to get guys back because, you don't want to. Well, look what happened to Austin Collie last year. He got a concussion, rushed back, got another one. I mean, concussions, you really don't want to see, obviously you don't want to see a guy with a concussion, but you really want to make sure you don't rush his return because then it could just be even worse.
Exactly, like Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they didn't rush his return, and then he was able to come back and won the Super Bowl. So maybe you got to be careful with those kind of things.
All sports have become so much more
aware,
not even aware, but more careful about the concussions. For instance, you go to the NFL, and now you see a lot of players with helmets, these special helmets they make. You can call them concussion helmets. And they're out there playing with them. If they take a hard hit, they're going to sit them out for a couple plays, make sure they're all right. But they think that these helmets will make a change. And going into high school sports, high school football teams have been offered concussion helmets from companies such as Shut, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know a lot of high schools around the area have bought these, and they've seen, a lot better results from players coming in and out of games. Bring up Brian Dowling real quick last year. I mean, he had one of those shut helmets.
Yeah,
And
still got a concussion.
still got a concussion. But you know what? Are they real concussions?
Yeah.
You think there are bruises on the skull? You think there's just little bumps?
I don't know how much I believe into this concussion helmet. I personally don't use one. I use one of the old helmets. It's just, I mean, no matter what you're wearing on your head, two guys flying at each other, I don't think any helmet's going to make a difference, even though, it'll reduce the chance, I guess, but I don't think it could stop.
Because if you get knocked hard, you're going to feel it no matter what your head's in.
wearing.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's just, I think people overreact. Like, they get hit in the head once, and they're
it
like,
can come
wow.
off complaining they have a concussion.
A little bit dizzy.
Exactly.
Yeah, you really can't tell until the day after you get it checked out. So
I mean, you wake up, and if you can't see straight and you got a problem, you got to go get checked out.
yeah, concussions are just a huge part of all sports, not even just football and hockey. Even soccer, they deal with concussions.
Exactly.
So.
And it's not like we have the equipment to even tell. Like, they're not going to spend $20,000 on a MRI machine or a CAT scan just to see if you have a concussion for high school kids. That's why we got the hospitals. I mean,
Well, let's check this out real quick. You guys, it is said that soccer has the most concussions. You guys believe that?
Well, I do. I mean, football is, I know, very hard, but at least we have some padding. And in soccer, you have no padding. There's elbows, knees, other people's heads flying around. And tell you the truth, that ball ain't that soft either, man. You get pretty.
That could be a hard ball sometimes, especially if it's brand new.
I don't believe that at all. There's zero contact besides a slide tackle. Once in a while, I get a little contact. But concussions, how often you see a guy going head to head or getting his head slammed against the ground like you do in the NFL all the time, or hockey going up against the boards.
Think about the players that had the ball, and especially when you're watching like professional soccer, you see those guys hitting the ball into that goal and swinging their head to the side. You don't really know how much that hurts.
Yeah, but
I mean, they must be used.
It doesn't cause that much to get a concussion with nothing on either. I mean, if you get a nice elbow to the face or to the temple, you get a concussion.
Yeah, but I said that if they're too good, they know what they're doing too much. I don't believe that's DeCicco at all.
You must be taking a lot of Advil or Tylenol or something, because
I don't
some
know
of these
how
people
they ain't
taking
getting
hard hits, and
Anyway.
What about the NBA players going overseas during the lockout? We know that Deron Williams has been signed to go overseas. We know that Kobe and Dwayne Wade, they're highly considering about going overseas. Do you guys think that this is a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think they should stay here and train? Or do you think they should go overseas and play for other teams? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not really a huge fan of going overseas, especially because it works if you get signed. For instance, Deron Williams, he got signed, and if the lockout were to end soon, he would have to play with that team he signed with. So, I really don't think it's good for his teammates. And people are going to affect most of the owners and the fans. They're not going to be able to see their favorite player.
I mean, think about some of these teams that are training hard, and I guess to me, I think it's a good idea for players to go out and get more involvement in the game, and they come back, becoming a greater player, because they're going to see how other teams overseas, how they play, how they train, how they do things.
Yeah, but they have the NBA is the best basketball league in the world. I mean, they have the best training, the best players, best coaches. I don't buy into that at all.
Take a look at Yao Ming before he came over here.
But Yao Ming's 7'6". I mean, he's not your
average guy,
NBA player.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying
that well to be that good at 7'6".
I mean, you look at today. I mean, retired Shaquille O'Neal, how he came out. If my opinion, if Shaquille O'Neal was still in the NBA, I don't think he would be going over. I think he'd rather stay here, and he'd rather train with his other teammates. That way, when the lockout's over, they go right back to the team, because these contracts that these players are signing, they could be over for a little bit, and by the time their contract's up,
and
what are they supposed to do? They can't come right back.
No,
they got to finish up their contract.
That's a huge problem. Like I said before, I mean, you're not being loyal to your team, your fans, and management. So, I'm just really, really against it.
That's all the time we have for this segment of the rain delay. When we return, the seats will be changed with Josh Mordkoff and Alex Green talking about Peyton Manning and his injury. Is it really a pain in the neck? Stay tuned to find out.
Excellent protection all the time in the world. Looking downfield, looking for Van Penen, triple covered, sticks it in there, flags on the play. Van Penen ahead to the 20, looking for the sideline. He's across the 10, near the goal line, dives, Touchdown, Ray Van Peen.
Grab your umbrellas, folks, because we're back with the rain delay, bringing you the hottest issues in the world of sports. We'll start this week's segment off talking about, I'd say, the NFL's biggest topic. I mean, for an unfortunate reason, though, Peyton Manning of the Colts. Give us a little background on that, Alex.
Well, we know Peyton Manning is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And unfortunately, he's had 3 neck surgeries in the last 19 months. The second one came on May 23rd, 2011, during the NFL lockout. And he wasn't able, because of the lockout, he wasn't able to meet with his trainers and get the proper physical training. So he wasn't able to start the season. And he had a consecutive game streak that was second only to Brett Favre.
Wow.
And that snapped because he wouldn't play week 1. Going into the season, like a week before the start of the season, we thought that he would just miss week 1, but he'd play weeks 2 through 16 or 17. But early September, Peyton actually had another neck surgery, his third in 19 months, as I mentioned, and it looks like he'll be out for most of this year, if not all of it.
And, you got to keep in mind that even if and when he comes back to practice, he's not going to be in the top shape that everybody else is. They've been playing since the summer. They've been playing all year round. But when he comes back, he's going to have to bounce back and get back into the football groove.
Exactly. It's a very tough injury to come back from. As I said, he seems injury-prone solely with this injury, with the third surgery in the 19 months. But, I mean, he's been the Colts' only starter in the past 13 years. The last one before him was current 49ers coach Jim Harbaugh. So it's very interesting to see how the team will perform this year without him. They lost week 1 with Kerry Collins. They got demolished by the Texans, who are up and coming and their biggest division rival right now. So it's not that surprising that they lost, but they got absolutely blown out.
Now, they're not only losing their quarterback, but they're losing like a role model. What Peyton Manning brings to the Colts is something that you don't see in any other team. He brings this sense of control, this order, and it's going to be a very big toll on their morale. How do you think the Colts are going to deal with this season?
I mean, I don't know if the players themselves knew that they were going to have Peyton for any of the season, so I think they had a bit of time to deal with it. But of course, when you're a player of Peyton's caliber and of Peyton's leadership, Peyton is often compared to being a coach on the field. So when you don't have that coach on the field, it's going to take a big hit on your playing. And they were a playoff contender with Peyton. Obviously, the Texans are on the rise, and I think will win the division. Would have won the division, even if Peyton was still there. But without him, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They might not even finish with a winning record.
Yeah, this is actually a very decisive injury, thinking about this now. And, hopefully Manning will be back to bring that Colts morale back to the NFL. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, Barry Bonds, a man in and out of trial, been let off easy. More after the break.
4 wide receivers set wide back to pass. Throws a ball, and it's going to be intercepted by Rodney Drees. Drees has a cakewalk into the end zone, and Drees brings it in for the touchdown. What a turn of events, folks.
We're back with the rain delay. Now, I'm sorry to our viewers. We just realized that we forgot to mention our names in the first segment. I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff, and this is your co-host,
Alex Green.
Well, Alex, we're going to come back and talk about Barry Bonds, a man who's been in and out of trial, I believe on 3 counts of lying, steroid use, and who knows, maybe there's something else that we don't know about. But give us a little background on that, Alex.
Oh, we're switching from one of the best NFL players of all time, Peyton Manning, to one of the best Major League Baseball players of all time, Barry Bonds. Unfortunately, we don't know if Peyton's ever taken performance-enhancing drugs, but it doesn't seem like it. And that's where Bonds and Manning differ. Seems Bonds admittedly did take the cream in the clear, which are steroids, although he says he did not know they were steroids. But he, when there was a big steroid trial, he said that he never took steroids. He said that he never knowingly took steroids. And a few months back, he was brought up on another trial, charges of making false statements. And recently, Judge Susan Ilston dismissed 3 charges of the making false statements for Bonds. But unfortunately, he still is under conviction for an obstruction of justice charge,
Right.
which could land him a maximum of 10 years in prison. Common sentences go for about 15 to 21 months, but the judge, Susan Ilston, has had other court cases like this for obstruction of justice, and a lot of the people have just gotten off with house arrest and no jail time. So we'll see what happens with Barry Bonds.
Right, and it definitely seems he's being let off easy by Ilston, and I do not think the consequence matches what he's done. How do you think this compares to any other performance-enhancing drug case in the past?
Bonds is really, I think he's really the face of the whole steroid scandal, a large part because of Balco, Bay Area Laboratory Corporation, was big in the steroids industry, and he obviously played in the Bay Area with San Francisco, and I think that plays a big role in why he's really the face. But I don't understand necessarily why these even had to be court cases. Like I do understand that steroids technically are cheating, but
technically,
I mean, when so many people were doing it, as baseball was called the past decade, the steroid era, it seems that everyone's stats were enhanced, or nearly everyone's stats were enhanced. So when so many people were doing it, it just seems unfair to single out one or two or three players.
Now, the big question is, should Bonds be a Hall of Famer? Should he be put together with the greats, the people who didn't cheat?
Well, everyone's going to have different opinions on this. I think for Barry Bonds, Bonds has 762 home runs, obviously, beating Hank Aaron's old record by 7. He has 73 home runs in a season, which is the most in a single season. He has nearly 2,000 RBIs, which is a huge amount of RBIs. So, he was a great player before he took steroids. Do I think he would have broken the all-time record, single-season record for home runs in a season had he not taken steroids? Probably not. Do I think he would still hit 500 home runs and been a fantastic player? I think so. So it's tough to say whether or not he should be a Hall of Famer, and I think because he took steroids, all the voters looked down upon him. But I think he was a great player before he took steroids as well, and I think, but I don't think the voters will recognize that, but I do think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Right, but I'm going to have to slightly disagree with that because it's very difficult to say that before he was on steroids, he could still be projected to do maybe not exactly what he's done, but to do something of the same caliber that would put him in the running to be in the Hall of Fame. Where should the bar be drawn? Where should the line be placed to say whether or not it would have made a big difference to take steroids or not?
Well, it seems that the line in baseball history for hitters has been 500 home runs or 3,000 hits. And you get those and you're practically automatically in the Hall of Fame. With the steroid era, Bonds has 762 home runs. I think with the steroid era, maybe you increase that 100 home runs or 400 hits or something like that. But it's really tough to say. I think 600 home runs, 700 home runs, Bonds is still going to get in. Even if you increase it 200 home runs for taking steroids, Bonds is still in. So I think he is really a Hall of Fame caliber player.
Now, aside from Bonds, where does McGwire, Sosa, and even Alex Rodriguez stand in this?
McGwire has, I believe, 583 career home runs. Yep. So, like I said, if you're gonna up the ante to 600 home runs to get into the Hall of Fame, he's not gonna succeed. But an interesting stat about McGwire is that he had 583 home runs on only 1,626 hits, meaning 1 out of every 3 hits he had was a home run, which is absolutely astounding. McGwire has been on the ballot before for the Hall of Fame and has not received anywhere near the needed amount of votes to get in. And I don't think he's going to ever get the necessary amount. So I don't necessarily think he'll ever get in. And aside from his 1 in 3 hits per, home runs per hit stat,
right,
he only had 583 home runs, as I said. So if you're raising the bar to get into the Hall of Fame, I don't think he gets in.
Yeah, even Sosa also. I mean, let's say we were going to raise this to 600. He's got it with the 609. But, I mean, at what cost? At taking performance-enhancing drugs, at making his game a lot better than what other players have been able to use to enhance his performance.
Sosa's also a tough call. He had 2,400 hits, over 600 home runs. Absolutely fantastic player. I don't know how he would have played if he didn't take steroids. But I do know that I always look shamefully down upon Sosa excuse me. For when there was the whole steroid trial in baseball, and the judge asked him whether he ever took steroids, he said he doesn't speak English.
Which we all know.
Which we all know from interviews and everything that he speaks practically fluent English. And I'll always look down upon him for that, and solely for that I would not vote him in if I were a voter in the Hall of Fame. He has not been on the ballot yet, and he will be in a couple of years, I think, but I don't think he'll ever get in.
Now, I remember we talked about in the past regarding consequence of not just on trial but in the sport itself to using steroids. We had said that we could raise the bar. Let's say if you're going to go ahead and try to gain that edge by taking steroids, okay, you're going to play by your own rules, then we're just going to set a new rule for you. You're going to have to reach these higher standards in order to get into the Hall of Fame. Now, besides this raise in home runs, do you think there should be other things that would raise the bar to get in the Hall of Fame?
Well, you're only talking about hitters.
True.
So, I mean, if you include pitchers like Roger Clemens, 300 wins is incredibly hard to achieve. And I think future pitchers may never get 300 wins because with bullpens and everything, with 5-man rotations, it's just unlikely they'll make that many starts to win 300 games. So I think if you leave 300 wins, I think that criteria is fine. And I think that's really what most people base Hall of Fame for pitchers off of. Obviously, there's saves. Like Mariano Rivera has 600 saves, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame easily. And it's tough to say for closers how many saves, but I don't think really closers take steroids.
True.
But aside from home runs for hitters, like I said, they should move up 100 or so. Hits should move up like a few hundred, from 3,000 to 3,400, 3,500, which is going to be a lot tougher to get because you got to play 17, 18 seasons of productive baseball in the big league, getting 200 hits a year to get those numbers, and that's really tough to do. And I think if you're going to cheat, you should be subjected to higher standards, and I think that's a good way to go about it.
Interesting point, Alex. Well, we're out of time. Think about it. Can you really put a statistical number on steroid use? See you next time on The Rain Delay.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Rain Delay. I'm your host, Mike Giannini, along with DeCicco and Justin Avedissian, and today we'll be talking about professional and high school athletics. Justin, Nick, all right, how you guys doing this week?
Not bad.
Good. We're going to start off today's show with probably the biggest conversation we'll ever have this week. It's once again the Battle of Wayne. Wayne Hills versus Wayne Valley at Wayne Valley High School. And this rivalry, this crosstown rivalry, has been going on for so long, so many years. And I remember going back to when my dad was in high school. He graduated in 1978. He also played as a tight end for Valley. And he said the same thing at the rivalry. They always try to beat it at Wayne Hills. Obviously, it could never happen. But let's go down to Friday, and let's talk about Friday night's game, which the kickoff is at 7 o'clock. What are Coach Olson's expectations to this game this week?
Well, I think Coach's expectations are to beat, obviously, Wayne Valley, but not only to beat, but we have to destroy them. We didn't leave any doubt in the minds of anybody last year in the playoffs, but during the first game of the season that we versed them, it was only, I believe, 27 to 20 victory.
I think it was 21-6 or something like that.
No, the first game?
21-16, I'm sorry.
16, thank you, yeah. All right. It was very close scoring. It was a close game throughout, and in the playoffs, then we stepped it up and we shut them out 48-0, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you are.
But what we need to do is we need to pound the ball down the throat. We got to do what Wayne Hills does best, and you know what? We got to pass the ball a little bit better in the game, but I think Kevin's going to succeed tremendously if he can this week.
Yeah, no doubt. His expectations are for us to win. But, I think we really have to soundly beat him. It can't be close. And we still had some problems, with some penalties holding us back a little bit. Assignment's not right. So, but I think, we could practice, really preparing for them really well. I think we'll be all right.
I think the same, to be completely honest. But let's talk about the keys to success for this game. Run game, we have Beverage, Robbie Schiller, we have Christian Rodriguez running the ball down the field. And going back to the past few weeks, they've really stepped up and showed what they can do. Going to the pass game, I know this is a big for Wayne Hills Patriots right now. We got Jeff Gignac. We got Andrew Monahan, who scored how many touchdowns last week?
Three
Touchdowns. We got Eric Moskal, which steps up big for yard gainage. Mike Areno, Preston Quinn even. We have Joey Lane at tight end. We have Ryan Carter at tight end. And we even have Nick DeCicco playing a little bit tight end. I mean, let me tell you something. These guys, when they run down the field, they catch the ball. They know that they're going down the field. All they want to do is go down the field. And believe me, I think some players the past 2 weeks have shown what they can do.
Absolutely. I mean, Wayne Hills has always had those playmakers to go up and down the field on every opponent they have. And this year we've had a couple different kids, different type of kids do it this year. But all the same is done. They're getting their job done just the best way they can.
I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who we put out there. Everybody works extremely hard and they know what they're doing. Our whole team has confidence in anybody who goes out there to get the job done.
I mean, going back to the run game, still don't have Troy Zafino out there, but Justin Beverage is going to be getting the ball a lot. Robbie Schiller has stepped up on, 10 to 15 yards maybe every time he's running the ball, if that at most. Christian Rodriguez going in for short distance. He can also go far distance, but stepping up to the plate with the touchdowns. I think, what was it, Hackensack?
I mean, 2 against Hackensack. Yep.
Ran that ball right in there. Let's go to special teams now. And speaking of special teams, let's bring back last week's moments against Eastside. Andrew Monahan, those punt returns. Come on. You don't usually see that.
Well, Andrew did a great job. And even Moxville he returned one for a touchdown too. That just gives credit to not only the guys on the team, but Coach Johnson, special teams coach, does such a great job all week. Really gets on the guys about giving them an effort. And if they do what they're told, it's going to be a great unit all year.
Exactly. I mean, if you see on Moskow's return how many knockout blocks there were downfield, it's just one of the hardest things to do in football, but somehow Coach Jay gets it through our head to do it.
I've honestly never seen a faster team down on kickoff. We're sprinting down there and knocking people's heads off. I mean, come on. Last week against Eastside, they were tackling kids down across from, I guess, the 15, 20-yard line and kept him there the entire defensive series. That was a huge advantage. Don't get me,
Yeah. That's really just a commitment from the guys who really wanted to do it, and we have, I think we have the guys that really want to get down there and make a play.
So my luck goes out to the Patriots this week on their crosstown rivalry game during the week 3 versus Wayne Valley, and I can only hope for the best for the Patriots and Coach Olsen and his whole coaching staff. But we'll be right back with more rain delay.
4 wide receivers set wide back to pass. Throws a ball, and it's going to be intercepted by Roddy Drees. Drees has a cakewalk into the end zone, and Drees brings it in for the touchdown. What a turn of events, folks.
Welcome back to the rain delay, everyone. Notice how we're missing 2/3 of the set. Well, I sent out Justin and Nick to go out and ask students and teachers' opinions on who will win the 2011 World Series. Now, let's throw it out to Justin and Nick.
Thanks, Mike. Me and Justin are outside of room 247. We're going to ask Brian Jalalia about his World Series predictions. Hey, Coach Jalalia. I want to welcome you to the rain delay, and I want to get your predictions for the World Series this year.
Right now, I guess if I had to pick a team that is probably the clear front runner, I'd go with the Philadelphia Phillies. Been there before, experienced good frontline pitching. I mean, I don't know if you could find a better rotation in all of Major League Baseball than what they have.
All right.
That would be and American League. Forgot about them. I would go with not because I am a Mets fan, but I don't think the Yankees are in the running for this. I don't think they'll get out of the divisional round. I guess I'd probably lean with Detroit right now. I don't know. They're a hot team going into the playoffs. Verlander's got 24, 25 wins. They're able to compete, and they can hit the ball a little bit offensively, and going to some teams having to travel to that cold weather in October and November is not very easy to do. So I think Phillies, Tigers, if I had to make a decision today.
All right, well, thank you, Coach, and appreciate it. Appreciate you being out here.
Here with legendary math teacher, Mr. DiMatulis, on hallway duty, we're just going to get his opinion on the World Series.
Well, on the World Series, you're asking me who's going to be in the
Who's going to be in the World Series?
I have a feeling it's going to be the Yankees and the Phillies in the World Series. Right? Phillies are going to take them in 5.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm here with Mr. Shale, legendary swim coach. I want to get your opinion on the World Series this year.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I mean, I think at this point it looks like a safe bet that I think the Yankees will be back. The Red Sox are crumbling a little bit late. Tampa Bay still doesn't concern me. In the NL, I'd have to say the Phillies at this point with strong rotation. Could be a Yanks-Phillies just like a couple years ago.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Here with the most legendary teacher in the school, Claudio Canonico, owner of Right Way Driving School and offensive line coach. Who do you think is going to be in the World Series this year?
The Astros look very good, and I think the Seattle Mariners. Aren't they in last place? Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you turn the standings upside down, they're in first place, right? So
Yep.
I picked those two.
All right, thanks for your time.
Not a problem. Thank you very much.
Hey, we're here with Miss Moshel. I just want to get your opinion on the 2012 World Series, 2011 World Series this year.
2011 World Series, well, I'm going to have to go with the best team in the AL, the New York Yankees. And I'm going to have to take the Phillies. They're looking pretty good as well.
All right, well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Here with junior Mike Rattino to get his thoughts on the World Series. Mike, who do you think is going to go to the World Series?
I'm going to say Yankees and Diamondbacks.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm here with Coach John Goldstein. Coach, I was wondering what your prediction were for the World Series this year.
World Series. You talking baseball? You talking driving schools?
Well, we all know about the World Series, but Claudio, I think, would win the World Series from driving schools.
That's true. Baseball World Series, I am going to have to go with, and I'm an Astros fan, but they're not doing so hot. But in the National League, I'm going to have to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. Too much starting pitching. In the American League, I'm going to go with I'll go with the Yankees.
All right, Coach Gold, appreciate it.
No problem.
Hey, Jess, there's a lot of interesting opinions on the World Series this year. I just want to get your opinion on the World Series this year, man.
Well, I'm going to go with the overwhelming favorite. I'm going to go the Yankees and the Phillies. I think both teams have great pitching staffs and certainly have the offense to get them the World Series.
I agree with you completely. Well, join us back for more rain.
But here we go. Lucas will inbound the corner with 3 minutes to go. She gets it to Giametta. Giametta corrals it, puts a shot on net. Deflected into the net. A goal by Brittany Galone. And Wayne Hills wins the North 1 Group 3 state championship.
Oh, baby, call your brains. Call your brains. Wayne Hills state champions, baby.
Couldn't script it any better, Joe. Couldn't script it any better myself. What a shot by Brittany Galone off the deflection from Jacqueline Giametta, and Wayne Hills wins the North 1 Group 3 state championship in dramatic fashion.
And we welcome you back to the rain delay. On the set, we have a special guest today, Justin Beverage, and me and him will be talking about the USA Today's top 10 NCAA football teams. Justin, how are you? Thanks for joining us on the set.
Very good.
Let's start out with number 10, Nebraska.
Well, my coming in number 10, Nebraska, they're a very solid team. Their offense is superb, one of the best in the league. And they're led by the quarterback, Martinez, who is a veteran and is going to lead the team, I believe, to at least a 500 season, even better.
Really? I mean, that's amazing to me.
Absolutely.
Number 9, Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, I don't know exactly if they should be in the top 10, but they are yet again another pretty solid team. I wouldn't say as good as Nebraska, but they are moving to the Pac-10, so I think it's going to be a little easier for them.
I agree with you. Little easier division.
Yes.
Let's go with number 8, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, their game is running the ball. They have a three-headed monster. Two of the guys, the big standouts, are Ball and White. And I think they're going to move up in the ranks. They're 8 right now, but I think they can move up into the top 5 this season.
Agreed. Number 7, Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, another great offense. Their defense is pretty good too, but their offense is led by Justin Blackman, number 81, the wide receiver. Probably the best in the league. And I think they're going to move up in the rankings a little bit too. I don't know, maybe top 5 maybe, but maybe a spot or two from where they are now.
That's okay. Number 6, Stanford.
Yeah, we come on Stanford. Stanford has the best quarterback in the league. I'm sure everybody knows Andrew Luck. He doesn't have a lot of help around him, but if they could throw the ball, it's going to open up their running game and obviously help their defense out a ton. I think they're going to stay where they are, though, in the standings.
Let's move on to number 5, Florida State. I mean, after that tough loss.
Yeah, last week they had a very tough loss against Oklahoma. In the third quarter, I believe, their quarterback was knocked out, and he's the key to their team. Yep. They have a couple very good wide receivers, but without him, they're going to struggle, I think, and hopefully they can get him healthy and he could be back. And they also lost their safety. He got a very bad concussion, and just wish the best for him, and hopefully he comes back soon as well.
Yeah, like you even said, the quarterback is the backbone to a team other than the coach and the line. I mean, quarterback, always helping out, passing, running, whatever. All right, number 4, Boise State.
Boise State. Don't think they should be number 4 this year.
Really?
Don't believe so. But they are led by another quarterback who's arguably the best in the league, Kellen Moore. He was actually supposed to leave and go to the NFL this year, but he didn't. He stayed true to his team. And I think because of that, they're going to be up there. But yet again, as I said, I don't think they should be where they are right now. I think they're going to drop back in a few weeks.
Moving up to number 3 with LSU.
LSU, I believe, should be the number 1 team in the nation.
Really?
They've played great. They beat Oregon, who was number 1, week 1.
Yep.
And they absolutely shut down the wide receivers. The cornerbacks played tremendous. Their offense was a little shaky, but that's all right because they evolve around their defense. And I think they're going to be in it to win it this year.
We'll see what happens, but let's move on to number 2 with Alabama.
Alabama is another team that's in the top 10 every year. Excuse me, top 5, I would say, every year. And they have a player named Trent Richardson. He's up for the Heisman this year, and I believe he's going to win it. I think he's a top candidate this year.
And we wish Trent Richardson the best, but let's move on to number 1, Oklahoma.
Number 1, Oklahoma. They probably got the best receiver, if not second best behind Blackman from Oklahoma State, is Ryan Broyles. I mean, you can't say enough about Oklahoma. Every single year, just like Alabama, they're up in the top 5. Their running back is great. Their quarterback, Jones, very good. Defense is solid, and they're led by probably the best coach in the league, Bob Stoops.
Agree. Yep, Bob Stoops, great man. That's all the time we have right now, but when we come back with the rain delay, we will be trading seats with Alex Green and Josh Mordkoff, and they will be talking more about the latest news in professional and high school sports.
High formation for the Patriots right now, and the fans are on their feet. Monahan, look at that, he's back in the pocket, and he's going for Greg Olsen, and he got it! He got it! Touchdown, Patriots! Touchdown, Patriots!
Grab your umbrellas, folks, because we're back with the rain delay, bringing you the hottest and latest in weekly sports. I am your host, Josh Mordkoff.
And I'm your co-host, Alex Green.
So first off, Alex, we're going to venture into the world of high school football. More specifically, we're going to be talking about our alma mater, Wayne Hills Patriots. You and I both announced the season opener against Hackensack this year, and as you recall, starting running back Troy Zaffino went down early on in the game and was carried off the field. I remember the original prognosis for the injury was a hyperextended knee, but information has since then been confirmed that Troy has developed a torn ACL, and I also believe MCL. What exactly is the magnitude of such an injury, Alex?
Well, if you recall my prognosis at the Hackensack game, I did say it was an hyperextended knee. And I looked that up on my phone, and it said that's likely to be out for about 4 weeks. But then, like you said, new reports confirm that he has a torn ACL and MCL. And if you look at like recent NFL injuries, like Jamal Charles also tore his ACL, and he's out for the season. So with a torn ACL and MCL, it looks like Troy will also be out for the season, which is a huge blow to the Wayne Hills football team.
That is a very big loss. But as we know, Wayne Hills does have some great guys behind him. Who do you think is definitely going to be big in picking up the slack for the Wayne Hills running back squad?
Well, I think Troy was really the big playmaker for the team. But picking up the slack, I think that'll be led by senior running back Justin Beverage. We saw him a bit last year. He's not the biggest kid, but he plays with a lot of heart. His feet never stop moving, and he's very tough to bring down. And I think you'll see that in the upcoming games.
I agree with you. Now, I believe a couple of the others are
Christian Rodriguez.
Right, Christian Rodriguez. We saw him big in the Hackensack game.
Two
also.
touchdowns.
2 touchdowns.
Dom Santoro.
Right. But yeah, I definitely agree about Justin Beverage. You know, the kid's got a lot of heart. He plays until the game's over, and he's one of the fastest kids on the field. Also, with Troy being out, it can be compared to Ray Van Peenen's injury back when he played in when was it? Maybe about
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
like
at
that.
least. And he was out, and that definitely hurt his football career. Do you think this could be a long-term injury for Troy?
Well, you really have to define long-term. When you talk about long-term, do you mean as in hurting a potential college career, or do you mean, or like what do you mean by that?
I think yeah, we can call it that. We could say that possibly could ruin not ruin, but maybe hinder his chances at showing what he can actually do this year, because it's his senior year. It's a big year in high school football. Do you think it's really going to injure his ability to maybe show what he has to some bigger schools?
Well, last year, Brian Dowling was all-state running back, and now that he's gone, Troy really stepped into the spotlight in the championship game last season with his touchdown return that actually won the game for Wayne Hills, and I think he was really predicted to step into the spotlight this year, and I think colleges are definitely looking at him. So this is a huge blow, not only to the team, but also his potential college career. I'm not sure whether he would have played D1 because that's just such a huge commitment, but I think he definitely would have had a lot of offers from D2 and D3 schools, and I think the ACL and MCL injury will certainly hurt that.
Yeah, and I really think a big part of this Wayne Hills team is always having somebody to pick up the slack. Like we have Justin Beverage, we have Christian Rodriguez. They're gonna still be there to pound the ball and get the big run plays that Hills needs. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a solid year despite this big injury.
I think the team will certainly rebound because the coach, Chris Olson, knows how to build a team. He's built a dynasty in the past few years at Wayne Hills, and he has a lot of depth at his positions, especially running back. But focusing more on Troy, I think this is an injury that'll hurt him a lot more than it'll actually hurt the team, because with the team you have Kevin Olson, who's going to step up. You have good receivers. You have running backs like Beverage and Rodriguez and all those guys, and you know they can pick up the slack. So it's really a detrimental injury more to Troy than to the team.
Yeah. Well, the Patriots certainly do have a powerful arsenal behind Troy running back, and I predict that they'll be able to rebound from it. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, Mayweather's unusually early KO in the fight against Victor Ortiz. Was it a sucker punch? Stick around for more Rain Delay.
First down, Horsell back to pass, excellent protection all the time in the world, looking downfield, looking for Van Penen, triple covered, sticks it in there, flags on the play, Van Penen ahead to the 20, looking for the sideline, he's across the 10, near the goal line, dives, touchdown, Ray Van Penen.
Welcome back. For those of you who weren't tuned in before, I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff.
And I'm your co-host, Alex Green.
So, Alex, we're going to talk about a sport that we usually don't cover, actually. But since the recent pay-per-view event, we've taken some interest in the past Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Victor Ortiz fight. Give us some background on the fight, Alex.
Well, last week in Las Vegas, Floyd Mayweather Jr., who's one of the best boxers of all time, and Victor Ortiz fought in a very controversial boxing match. It was a very close match, even though it went nearly 4 full rounds. Mayweather, at the end of 3 rounds, two out of three judges say he won the first 3 unanimously, and the other one said he won 2 of the 3 rounds. So he was up, but the fight was far from over because Ortiz is a good fighter. He only had 2 losses going into this. Mayweather was undefeated, 41-0 going into this. So, but Ortiz was the world champion in this weight class.
Right.
So it was very big fight, I would say. So at the end of, or in the 4th round, Mayweather was headbutted by Ortiz, and that's not legal. So Ortiz acknowledged that he was wrong and went up to him and gave him a hug and a kiss. And when the fight was about to start up, as the 4th round was nearly ending, Ortiz put his gloves down to say he was sorry again, and at that moment, Mayweather knocked him out. Now, some people call this a sucker punch. I've been reading up on it. Everyone says it's a legal punch. What do you think?
I'm going to have to go against what you're saying, Alex. I think this was definitely a sucker punch. He was apologizing. Mayweather could have given him a second. I mean, you could say that he took advantage of a situation, but I see that in a negative light. Ortiz having taken a beating from him the first 3 rounds. Mayweather was in the lead. Mayweather's also a much bigger guy. He even says here, Mayweather is 150 pounds. And Ortiz coming into this, I believe, on the scale was about 164. Oh, sorry. So the other way around. I'm sorry. So what my point is, Mayweather may have the advantage in the situation. He's a faster guy. He can move more swiftly, but he still throws the punches out there. And I think he had the advantage, and he did not have the right to take advantage of the apology being given to him.
I disagree with you. While I do think Mayweather was winning, and he was easily winning, as I said before, I mean, he had won 8 of the 9 rounds according to the judges. Sorry, all the rounds from 3 of the judges. He was significantly, he was 14 pounds under weight, but Ortiz actually holds he's the world champion in the 147-pound weight class, and he weighed in 164 pounds. So he was 14 pounds more than Mayweather. And even though Mayweather's faster, they're both very nimble and very fast. And having that weight advantage, can make you stronger, can put you over the top in these very competitive battles. Do I think it was the right thing to do with that punch? Probably not, but it's a legal punch. And in boxing, you can't let your guard down at all, or you're going to lose, and you saw it right there.
I mean, I'm still going to have to disagree with you, Alex. You can't just when you're being apologized to, that's a sign of respect. Like, even in boxing, a very barbaric sport, there's still respect between the players. They're athletes. They're not enemies. They're out there. They're playing the sport that they enjoy, that they love. And when someone goes up and says sorry to you for, he knew what he did was wrong. He headbutted him, gave him a kiss and a hug. And when he let his gloves down to say sorry, right in the face, he was out. Like, that's such a blow. That was such a decisive blow in the match.
But I think saying sorry and giving someone a kiss and a hug are different. Like, you're 2 grown men boxing. You're not gonna give someone a hug and a kiss. So I think that was more of a playful sorry than like he actually meant it.
Yeah.
So I think that really also set off Mayweather. Keep in mind, this is Mayweather's first fight in 16 months, so I'm sure, I don't want to say it was a bit rusty because he was really winning the match at that time, but he was 14 pounds underweight, or in comparison to Ortiz,
right,
and hadn't fought in 16 months and was facing the world champion. I'm not saying that that's a good reason to go for that knockout punch at that time, but like I said, it's a legal hit, and I think if it's a legal hit, there shouldn't be any backlash.
I mean, I don't know, Alex. I'm sorry. I'm still gonna have to disagree with you. Sometimes what's legal, it can be interpreted in different ways. It's a legal hit, but it may have not been the moral thing to do. You don't just, if someone's saying sorry, you don't just go and punch them in the face. Understanding it is a boxing match, you definitely have to have some respect for that. I mean, I don't want to get into a fight with you about it. Like, we could put the gloves on and get into the ring or something. But yeah, I definitely think it was the wrong move for Mayweather coming into this match 41-0, knowing he had the upper hand. Although he had a time off, he was ready to fight. He was motivated, and then in the midst of the fight, had won the first 3 rounds, and had been in the lead in the last round. I think I think he definitely could have spared Ortiz that one sucker punch.
Going into this match, I don't think that Mayweather really was the favorite. I mean, statistically on the Vegas odds, he was the favorite, but he was 10 years older than Ortiz. He was 14 pounds lighter than Ortiz. And Ortiz had all the emotional support being the world champion, and Mayweather hadn't fought in 16 months. So I don't think he had the advantage, and he was absolutely beating Ortiz in the first 3 rounds. And I think, he wanted to end it. I'm not going to say he's an old guy, but he saw the opportunity to end it. You should never let your guard down anytime, especially not in the ring. And Ortiz paid for it. I think it's that simple. It might not have been the most moral thing to do, but is hugging, kissing your opponent jokingly, is that to say you're sorry? Is that normal? Should you be able to do that, or should you take that seriously? Come on, if you're Mayweather, I don't know if I would have done the same thing, but I'd be pretty infuriated too.
Alex, let's end this before this gets violent. Was the knockout a sucker punch, or was Mayweather just taking advantage of the situation? This has been Josh.
It was a sucker punch. Sorry, it wasn't a sucker punch. I bet. I'm Alex.
And we'll sign off. See you next week on The Rain Delay.
Welcome to the Rain Delay, everyone. My name is Mike Giannini, and along with me is Justin Avedissian, my co-host. We're missing one co-host today. Nick DeCicco is a little under the weather, so it's only the 2 of us. But Justin, welcome. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. All right. So, like every week, it's pretty much traditional. We start out with the Wayne Hills football. I guess you could say segments, but we do the prediction for the week. But today we're going to do the mid-season wrap-up. Patriots are right now undefeated at 5-0. Coming up next week with Ridgewood. From week 1, you've seen Wayne Hills progress, become stronger as a team. Between running, losing Troy coming back this week, actually, and just the improvement everyone's making. Let's start out with Hackensack. What was the score of that game again?
30-6, 7.
Something like that. But starting with that was only 1 touchdown given up. We've only given up 1 touchdown since the beginning of the season. Other than that, we've had, 4 shutouts?
Yeah.
4 shutouts against Eastside, Wayne Valley, Teaneck, and Paramus, and hopefully coming up with Ridgewood. Let's talk a little bit about Eastside, Justin.
Eastside, never going to be, I'm not going to say never, but usually not the best team you're going to play on the schedule. But, they do have a lot of athletic kids. But they're one of those teams, if you really don't play well, they can beat you because of their athleticism.
Now, crosstown rival Wayne Valley, week 3, shutout. Last year was a tight game. This year was a complete blowout.
Yeah, I think that was really big for us mentally. Last couple years, we were supposed to, have the better team. Wasn't supposed to be a close game, but the last couple years it's been really close. So I think it was really good for us that it wasn't a close game, and we kind of blew them out.
We shut them out at Wayne Valley too. Bringing up Teaneck next. At Teaneck, defeated them, undefeated still. Shutout.
Yeah, Teaneck. It's kind of similar to Eastside. They had some pretty big bodies on the line you're going to get with some of those teams, and really athletic skill position guys. But again, one of those teams you don't play on your game, you're off. They can beat you.
Plus, we got around the all the mud and the rain that came before the game. Everyone's jerseys looked like they were in literally a bucket of mud.
Yeah.
But going up against Paramus last week, who was supposed to be a tough team, came out, was a little tough in the beginning, and just shut them out, blew them out the rest of the game.
Yeah, Paramus is a very good program. They coach very well. Their line, especially, I think, was very good. Never staying in one spot, always pinching, looping, doing something to try to throw the offense off. But, I think we did a really good job of wearing them down, and eventually, we cracked them and broke it open.
And Wayne Hill's playing Ridgewood this week at 7 o'clock here at Patriot Stadium. Now we're gonna go back to the past weeks. Who has really stepped up in this program in the past games?
No, I think Andrew definitely. He's done everything for us. Catching the ball, returning punts, kicks. Rodriguez and Bev, both doing a great job picking up slack. We all knew they could do the job, so it was good to see that they did it. And I'm going with the entire defense. Not giving up, like you said, not giving up a point since Hackensack. Doing something right.
Let me bring up a couple people too. Number one, Dom Santoro, last game in against Paramus, 2 touchdowns back to back.
Yeah.
One was a screen pass, and the last one was a pick 6 all the way to the end zone. And believe me, it didn't look like an interception. But somehow he got the ball in his hands and made it to the touchdown. Kyle Hunsinger at the safety position.
Yeah.
As a junior.
I don't think many people saw it coming, but Kyle is one of those kids, typical Patriot. He's going to work really hard, and, we gave him the chance, and he really did make a lot of big tackles against Paramus. If you look at the film.
Loose hits, yep.
One-on-one situations where, you really need a safety to make a tackle, and, he did it and made a tackle.
I mean, I congratulate him, and all of his effort really pays off, especially in practice, bringing it to the games. He looks like a really strong player. Stick around for more rain delay, everyone.
4 wide receivers set wide back to pass. Throws the ball, and it's going to be intercepted by Roddy Drees. Drees has a cakewalk into the end zone, and Drees brings it in for the touchdown. What a turn of events, folks.
And we welcome you back to the rain delay. Once again, I'm your host, Mike Giannini, along with me, Justin Avedissian. Justin, let's bring up the NFL. The Jets losing streak. I mean, last week against the Patriots, they had a pretty strong game. Somehow, loosened up at the end. But
yeah, I don't think anybody really saw this coming with the Jets. How good of a team they are. How good their coach, Rex Ryan. Special teams is always great. But if I'm a Jet fan, I don't think I panic yet. I think they're still 2-2. A lot of football to play, but I really think Sanchez really has to step it up, start making big throws, and they really have to get back to that dominant rushing game.
I mean, bringing back Nick Mangold, which is basically the captain of the offense.
Yeah. So one of the with him back,
huge performer.
That makes them, he's huge for them. Without him, they lose some experience, definitely lose a lot of skill. But with him in there, I think they definitely one of the more elite offensive lines in the league.
I completely agree. Plaxico Burress coming in, stepping up. The only thing we can hope for is the Jets to pull a W hopefully next week. Indianapolis Colts. What can we say about that?
I'm a huge Colt fan. It really just disappointing. I mean, everyone really once Peyton got hurt, I think everyone knew that they're not going to be a playoff team, but especially with Kerry Collins, especially Reggie Wayne was really vocal about he didn't want to sign Kerry Collins because they believed in Curtis Painter, but they're really struggling, and this whole thing about the Andrew Luck sweepstakes, obviously I think if you're in the Colts position, you think Peyton's going to have a couple more solid years left. I think they're really going to look at what Green Bay is doing right now with Aaron Rodgers, how they had Aaron Rodgers. He sat a couple years behind Brett Favre, and I think they try to do the same thing and get Andrew Luck so he can learn behind Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks ever. But
bringing up Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers last year won a Super Bowl. You could see where his hard work actually really paid off.
Yeah.
Brought Green Bay to a great season.
Yeah, it's so important to get behind a veteran quarterback. If you're a rookie, that's besides not playing, the next best thing is definitely going to be behind a veteran quarterback. They're going to teach you the secrets of how they got great. Really going to stress how important film is, and how precise routes got to be when you got to throw the ball. So I think it's a real good thing if the Colts get Andrew Luck. But even they're saying there's been rumors that Peyton's going to come back just so Andrew Luck doesn't take his spot. I think that's nonsense. Even if Peyton does come back, which I really don't think he will this year, just because
he's your franchise quarterback. He's the face of your franchise. You really don't want to rush him back and say he comes back and gets hurt again. Who knows if he's out for another year or his career's over. So, I really don't believe in that.
And I agree with that statement. Now, Detroit Lions, still undefeated.
Yeah.
This is a big turnaround in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. Last year, they were the usual Lions, not winning many games. I think really what turned them around is, they have, I think they have the best defensive line in all of football. They picked up Nick Farley.
Yep.
He's a great D tackle. And Dominican Sue, who's the best defensive tackle in all football. Got Vanden Bosch, who's, one of the premier ends in the league. And really, they're just stressing, how important offensive and defensive lines are. I mean, if you control a line of scrimmage, you're going to win. Doesn't matter what you do. And, I think another huge thing for the Lions is their offense. If you look at the receiving core, and, Pettigrew, their tight end, great job all year. Definitely one of the best tight ends in the league. Matt Stafford, he's been hurt the last couple of years. But, when you got Calvin Johnson out there, I mean, all you got to do is get him the ball. It's not going to be that hard.
I mean, he could definitely.
Yeah, and they also got Titus Young from Boise State. And, they got a bunch of weapons. Best, the running back's doing a great job. I mean, it's really amazing how much they turned around since last year.
I mean, the victory over the Bears last night.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Considering it's been a Monday night game where they really haven't had a Monday night game in a while.
Yeah, lights hasn't really meant that much. Yeah.
Fans are starting to come back.
Yeah.
And maybe something big will happen for them. What about the Green Bay Packers?
I think a lot of people predicted this. Green Bay Packers, what can you say? I mean, they won the Super Bowl last year. And, ever since the preseason, you just saw how potent their offense is. Aaron Rodgers, arguably, him and Tom Brady, I think, best two quarterbacks in the league. Jordy Nelson is really important to that offense. Donald Driver, Greg Jennings. I mean, Greg Jennings is great. And also, I think their most important player on offense, Jermichael Finley at tight end. He's a huge tight end. Great hands, great size, great speed. If you can get defenses to double cover him, other receivers are going to open up like it's been happening, and Aaron Rodgers is going to torch it.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers has had so many open passes completed, and his yards are magnificent.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for this segment, folks. Stay tuned because we have Alex Green and Josh Mordkoff coming up with more rain delay.
High formation for the Patriots right now, and the fans are on their feet. Monahan, look at that, he's back in the pocket, and he's going for Greg Olsen, and he caught it! He got it! Touchdown, Patriots! Touchdown, Patriots!
Welcome back to the Rain Delay. This is the part of the show where the real anchors come in and bring this show to V award-winning quality. I'm Josh Mordkoff, along with my co-host Alex Green, and right now we're going to talk about Wayne Hills football. More specifically, the face of Wayne Hills football this season, numero uno, Andrew Monahan. Alex, give us a rundown of his performance thus far.
Andrew Monahan has been simply superhuman. Since Troy Zafino went down in week 1, he has stepped up, really showed why he's the captain of the team. He has, I believe it's 12 touchdowns in 5 games, so 2.4 a game, averaging 14.4 points a game this season, which is remarkable because he scores 14.4 points a game. The team lets up less than 2 points a game. And it's absolutely ridiculous. He's been incredible on kickoff and punt returns. He's been amazing receiving, rushing the ball. He's gotten a few pass attempts in there. And he has done everything for this team. He's played good defense. We saw it against Paramus when we were announcing first drive. He came with a big interception when Paramus was driving. So he was the playmaker of the team, the X factor, and they've lost a few guys injuries this year, but luckily they haven't lost him.
Like I've said in a couple of our productions, Andrew Monahan is putting the team on his back. Offense, defense, special teams, he's doing it all. And honestly, I think the fans are coming to see a lot of him. I mean, he brings us out of our seat. We were standing for a good couple minutes just watching him do his thing against Paramus. That amazing tip off the defender touchdown. Completely, we got up, really excited, and I think he's a big controller of the pace of this game, and he excites all the fans, excites all the players, and he really gets his Hills team moving.
He's been absolutely fantastic. We were in the booth announcing, and then he caught that incredible touchdown off the tip ball, and we literally got out of our seats. We were ecstatic. We were cheering. And like the camera guys from the scouting team next to us were like, "What are these guys doing?" Like, it was an incredible catch. Monahan really stepped into that captain role. Like I said, he's always a fantastic player, but we never really thought much of him. With him always being surpassed by like Brian Dowling and Mike Quinn, always those great players that always that obviously graduated, and now he's really stepped in the spotlight, especially with the Troy injury.
So Alex, there is, I believe, 5 more regular season games.
4
now. Okay,
it's all good.
But where does Andrew Monahan stand going towards the single season touchdown record?
I mean, Monahan's got, I believe I said 12 touchdowns in 5 games,
which is incredible.
So he's on pace for like 21 touchdowns, which is, that's pretty damn good. I mean, I can't really say how many touchdowns Brian Dowling had or what the single season record is, but regardless of what it is, this is a record-breaking season for Andrew Monahan for the whole team.
Now, I know that so far the entire Wayne Hills football team has outscored their opponent 185-7.
Yep.
And I believe Andrew Monahan has at least 90 of those points.
I believe it's 72.
72.
Yeah.
Okay. So 72 of those points, which just relatively.
It's about like he's scoring 40% of the team, or 40% of the points the team scores. He's scored more than 10 times the amount of points the defense has let up. And the defense is also anchored by him, which says a lot about him, not only on offense, not only on special teams, but him on defense also.
Now, do you think he's going to be a clutch performer in the playoffs as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Troy is supposed to come back in the upcoming weeks, and I think that'll certainly take some of the slack off him. But he's, even with all the pressure on him, he's stepped up his game, as we said. Like, he hasn't slowed down despite the Troy's injury. He's actually stepped up. So I think having Troy on the team will certainly take away any double coverages if Troy's in the receiving, or having Troy in the backfield is a great distraction because he's so dangerous also. So that should open up receiving holes for Monahan and return opportunities for Monahan, and I think with that he'll absolutely be clutching the playoffs and the rest of the regular season.
Now let's talk about his passing game. Now, the connection he's got with quarterback Kevin Olsen is just it's been phenomenal this season.
Like we said, he had that amazing tip touchdown catch against Paramus. He had another receiving touchdown that game. He's been absolutely fantastic. He and Kevin are just on the same page, it seems, every game. And they even tried to pass from Monahan to Kevin last game, which just went incomplete, but would have been a nice touchdown grab by Kevin. So it's not only from Kevin to Andrew, but also from Andrew to Kevin.
Well, that's all the time we have for that segment, Alex. Don't leave your seats, folks, because we'll be right back with more Rain Delay.
And that's the game! That is the game! Your Wayne Hills Patriots beat the Northern Highland Highlanders 4-1. There was pandemonium at Patriot Stadium. Wayne Hills 4, Northern Highlands 1. A great game by both teams, but obviously Wayne Hills coming out on top.
It's raining sideways on the Rain Delay, so we're going to debut a new segment called Quick Picks. On this segment, we have many topics and only 30 seconds to explain them. This week, we're talking football. All right, Alex, you ready? We're going to start it up with the NFL. And go. Surprise team.
Detroit Lions.
Most overrated team in the NFL.
Philadelphia Eagles.
MVP thus far.
Aaron Rodgers.
Super Bowl picks.
Green Bay Packers versus New England Patriots.
Best QB in the AFC?
Tom Brady.
Best QB in the NFC?
Aaron Rodgers.
If you have the first pick in your fantasy draft, who are you taking?
Calvin Johnson.
Best defense in the NFL?
That's tough. Buffalo Bills.
Time's up. Perfect. Okay. So, Alex, for surprise team, you said that it is the Detroit Lions. Elaborate.
I think Detroit really comes off as a surprise team because they've been so abysmal for so many years. In 2007 they went 0-16, and as of right now they're undefeated. So they're setting up for a big Week 9 matchup on Thanksgiving against rival Green Bay, and that should really decide who's going to be the the number one team in the NFC. So I think it's got to be Detroit.
And most overrated team you called the Philadelphia Eagles.
I did. The Eagles had a spending spree in the offseason, acquiring some of the top free agents: Nnamdi Asomugha, Vince Young, Cullen Jenkins, and I think everyone picked them to blow out the NFC East and potentially make it and win the Super Bowl for the first time since 1980, or excuse me, for the first time ever. Excuse me, and they've just been underperforming severely. I just don't even see them making the playoffs at this point.
What do you think's been holding the Eagles back this season?
I'm not really sure. I think Michael Vick's just having a worse season than he did last season, but also the offensive line's just inexperienced, and I think Vick's not having any time, and I think that hurts also.
Now, your MVP choice
was Aaron Rodgers,
right?
Quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and I think he's the best player in the NFL right now. No disrespect to Tom Brady, but I think Rodgers plays on the best team, the Green Bay Packers, the defending Super Bowl champions. He's got great wide receivers, Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings and Donald Driver, among others. Fantastic tight end in Jermichael Finley, who's like a hybrid wide receiver tight end. He's got so many options and a fantastic offensive line, so much time, and he's got great awareness and vision. I think he certainly is the best quarterback so far.
Now, your Super Bowl picks, I believe, were
the Packers
again
and the Patriots. So
right.
Really a quarterback matchup with Rodgers and Brady. I think both of them have fantastic wide receivers, decent run games, and I think the Packers have a better defense than the Patriots, and I think the Packers would win the Super Bowl if it came down to that. But I think those two teams are the best in their conferences at the moment.
And I definitely think the Packers have the momentum from last season, and Aaron Rodgers he's playing phenomenally this year.
Absolutely.
He's completely dominating on the football field. Best QB in the AFC?
Tom Brady.
Right.
I think so far, with Peyton Manning's absence for the season, it's got to be Brady, reigning AFC MVP. And I think he's playing up to his level thus far this year.
Now, same question, but in regards to the NFC.
I love talking about Aaron Rodgers. It's, it's my boy. Like I said, so many options and such great awareness. And I think he learned from sitting behind Brett Favre, and he's just got to be the best quarterback.
Now, where does he differentiate from other QBs in the league?
He's got such good vision, and aside from that, he's not just a pocket quarterback. He's great in the pocket, but he can also scramble if there's ever pressure. And he has a few rushing touchdowns this season, and I think that number will increase. But so aside from his passing, he's also fantastic on his legs.
Okay, now if you have the first pick in your fantasy draft,
I'm taking Calvin Johnson, Megatron. He set an NFL record with 9 touchdowns receiving in his first 5 games. He has been absolutely incredible. Chris Carter, an analyst before the season, didn't even put him in his top 5 wide receivers. But Calvin Johnson is 6'5", and he has a 4-foot vertical jump, and with his arms, he can get up to 12 feet in the air to catch a ball. The physics are outstanding, and he's been showing it so far this season.
And he's definitely been a big factor to the Lions' surprise success this season. Final question: whose defense is the best in the NFL?
I thought this was really hard. I was going through my fantasy league, and I found that the Bills' defense actually leads my league in points. So I think I got to go with them. They've been getting it done, on the ground, and they've been getting it done through the air, and I think they've been doing just enough on the ground. And right now they lead the AFC East. So I think they're doing it. They might fall at the end, but I think right now their defense is doing pretty well.
Thanks, Alex. Good work. We're out of time for this segment. Keep your umbrellas open. The Rain Delay will be right back.
First down, Horsell back to pass. Excellent protection all the time in the world. Looking downfield, looking for Van Penen, triple covered. Sticks it in there, flags on the play. Van Penen ahead to the 20, looking for the sideline. He's across the 10, near the goal line, dives. Touchdown, Ray Van Penen.
And we're back with the Rain Delay. So, Alex, did you hear about Derek Jeter getting back together with Minka Kelly?
Actually, I did, Josh. They're a pretty cute couple.
Unfortunately, that's not what we're going to be talking about in this segment. Let's discuss the current conference realignment, NCAA football. Give the viewers some background on the situation.
Talking about Division I football, there's been a lot of havoc over the past, year plus with, conference realignments. There are 6 automatic qualifying conferences, and automatic qualifying means that the conference champion at the end of the year qualifies for one of the 4 big BCS bowl games: the Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, or Rose Bowl.
Right.
But there are other teams, like in recent years, like Boise State and Texas Christian, that aren't in these automatic qualifying conferences, but have been some of the top teams. But they've sort of been rejected by the BCS because they're not in those top those top conferences. So in the past year, TCU, which was in the Mountain West, decided that they wanted to play in the Big East because they got an offer, so they accepted that. But in recent weeks, they actually got an offer from the Big 12, and they accepted that. So they never actually played in the Big East. Now they're going to the Big 12, and they're going to play 3 or 4 of their in-state rivals. Boise State went from the West Coast Conference to the Midwest Conference with TCU, but now that TCU is leaving, I guess what if Boise State doesn't have any offers, so what are they going to do? In the Big East is probably the worst out of the 6 automatic qualifying conferences, and 2 of the top teams, Pittsburgh and Syracuse, have agreed to go to the Atlantic Coast Conference, the ACC, and just 7 or 8 years earlier, 3 teams, Miami, Boston College, and Virginia Tech, left Big East for the ACC, so that trend is continuing. Texas A&M in the Big 12 is leaving for the SEC, and Missouri might also, and Colorado left the Big 10, and Utah both went to the Pac-12, or what is now the Pac-12. It was the Pac-10.
Right.
So there's havoc all over the college football landscape.
So what exactly are some of the motives behind schools like Boise State and TCU switching conferences?
Like TCU, I said they wanted to get into an automatic qualifying conference. So if they are good enough, they are the real deal and can win the conference, they will get into one of those Big 4 bowls or the championship game. As for Boise State, I think they wanted to be they had ran away with the WAC, the Western Athletic.
Right.
Yeah, they had ran away with it. The past decade really, and I think they wanted not only more competition, but I guess to be in more spotlight. So they switched over the conference that TCU was in, but as soon as they joined, TCU decided they wanted to leave for the Big East and now the Big 12. So Boise State really should be the cream of the crop in that conference too, but maybe they'll get another invitation to join a real big conference.
Do you think now that if all these schools are getting invitations to different conferences, that other schools that, let's say, aren't doing so well in their own conference are going to use let's say, an invitation from another conference to escape challenge, to escape competition, and use it to their own benefit, as opposed to maybe trying to be the cream of the crop, like you said, Boise State and TCU want to be?
You're saying, do I think those teams would try to switch into a bigger conference?
Right.
Like I said, I think they want a better chance of qualifying for those bowls, and I think if they've been the real deal for the past decade or so, I think that'll continue, and they want a chance to really show that they're contenders and that they deserve a chance for the.
So they're almost making it harder on
absolutely,
themselves.
they're playing stiffer competition, but they know that if they can beat this competition, and they have been in recent years, then they can get to the national championship or get to the Rose Bowl or Sugar Bowl, whatever it is.
Do you think this could turn into teams going from bigger conferences to smaller conferences?
I don't think so. I mean, there are times when if a team is consistently bad, like Rutgers used to be horrendous,
right?
In the early parts of the decade and latter parts of the 90s, that they were, there were considerations of moving back to 1AA or Division II, but they've turned themselves around, done a lot better in recent years. But I think if you're in a big conference, you're going to stay in a big conference.
And does this affect all sports of the one school?
There are some invitations that are strictly football only, but there are others that are certainly for all sports. Like the Big East has now 6 teams in football, but they have 14 or 16 teams in basketball.
Yeah.
Because there are these schools that aren't really top in football, like Division II in football, but they're fantastic basketball schools, and they're in the Big East are only basketball.
So really, reasons that teams are moving would most likely be for a single sport that they would specialize in. It wouldn't be a widespread variety.
Not necessarily. I do think that primarily it's for football, but I think it does extend to other sports too.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, are there any other upcoming possibilities of more moves in the conferences?
Absolutely. If you look at the Big East, they went down from 8 to 6 teams with the leaving of Pittsburgh and Syracuse. So they're going to need to, unless they want to dissolve the conference, they're going to need to, invite more teams that are potentially from other conferences or from Division I AA to come and join their conference. But, it might, or other teams might leave because the Big East is looking like it's going to dissolve.
Thanks, Alex. That's all the time we have for now. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time on The Rain Delay.
Welcome to The Rain Delay, everyone, and thank you all for tuning in this week. My name is Mike Giannini. Along with me are Nick DeCicco and Justin Avedissian, and we'll be talking about high school and collegiate sports. Guys, we're going to start off with the NFL and the coaches' protocol. Jim Harbaugh and Jim Schwartz. What happened between them two?
The Lions were undefeated, and they got beat by Harbaugh's 49ers. And, Harbaugh went in there after the game, as like coaches always do, shake hands. He went in, pretty hard, slapped him on the back, and Schwartz obviously took it the wrong way.
Yeah, the way Harbaugh acted was completely inappropriate for it, I believe. You see coaches just go in after a big win, shake hands, and then go in the locker room and celebrate with their team. And that's how it should be. He shouldn't be going out there, running out, yelling, we're the best, or whatever he was yelling, and come in, slap the other coach right on the back, and supposedly use profanity when he said it, and then completely run away. And then Schwartz, who also reacted inappropriately, came out running after him, trying to get a reason for it. I can understand why Schwartz would do it, but Jim Harbaugh has to learn to control himself from using his emotion that much.
But doesn't Jim Schwartz have a record for excessive celebrations after victories? Is this basically a slap back in the face to him?
Well, yes, Jim Schwartz is a very emotional guy, but when he does shake hands in the middle of the field, he does shake them appropriately. When the Lions take the lead in the game, you see him fist pump. Anyway, but Jim Schwartz, he needs to also cut back on his celebrations as well.
I believe Harbaugh apologized, but
do
you think he meant it? It was kind of sarcastic.
No, I don't think he meant it at all. If I'm a player for the 49ers, I'm loving it. Coach getting fired up. He's, really happy, really proud of the team. But I think as soon as he got back in the locker room, said whatever he said to his team. Really happy about the win, but I don't think the apology meant anything.
Believe me, after what I saw, it was definitely didn't look like anything sympathetic. But what does this mean for a team? Does it motivate both sides of the team? What does happen?
I think both teams get motivated by this. Obviously, the 49ers, like I said, they knocked off an undefeated team in the Lions. So the players are always going to be fired up. And just as a player, seeing your coach really care that much and get so pumped up after a win, all it's going to do is fire you up. And on the other side, the Lions, their side, the way they look at it, it's going to be, our coach got disrespected. Are we just going to let that happen, or are we going to do something about it? So it really fires both teams up.
Exactly. The Lions, they have to be fired up by this because, one, San Francisco just knocked off their undefeated season as far, and they also disrespected Jim Schwartz in their home stadium.
Exactly.
No one goes into your house as an undefeated team should beat you, but 49ers are no slack team. They're very good. I believe they're 5-1 now, 5-1 now, and they're doing well. But as Lions, they got to know they got to get better now and succeed next week and get a win. But the 49ers, they got to keep this going. The momentum's going strong, and the apology wasn't really there at all by Jim Harbaugh, but it's the 49ers and they had a big one, so they were excited.
Now, Justin, this is going directly to you. Let's talk about a few coaches in the hot seat. We have Jack Del Rio, Tony Sperano, and Jason Garrett. What's been going on with them?
Jack Del Rio really the last couple of years has been under the gun. But he's had it pretty tough playing in the Colts dominated AFC South. A lot of people really look. A lot of people thought he was going to be fired last year, but, they stuck with him. I personally think he needs to go, but if they have another rough season, I could see him on his way out. We also got Tony Sperano, Dolphins. the Dolphins are a tricky team at times at home, especially at home. They look like they could be contenders in the division sometimes, but other times they just look awful. And they had the talent. I mean, you got Brandon Marshall, Reggie Bush. The defense isn't bad either. So there's no reason they really shouldn't be competing. But he's definitely on the hot seat too. And I think Jason Garrett too, even though it is only I think his first year officially as the head coach. They didn't get off to a great start. They've been playing, they've been playing pretty well this year. But when you're talking about the Cowboys, I mean, it's like the Yankees in baseball. They demand perfection.
Uh-huh.
And when Jerry Jones, the owner, he's not going to stand for anything less. So, I wouldn't say Jason Garrett maybe this year, but 2 more years maybe if they really don't win that division, he could be on his way out too.
All right. But that's all the time we have for this segment of the rain delay. Tune in for the next segment. When we come back, I'm sending Justin and Nick out to talk to the Wayne Hills staff about what changes and what improvements can be made to the Yankees and Mets in the 2012 season. Stay tuned for more rain delay.
High formation for the Patriots right now. And the fans are on their feet. Monahan, look at that. He's back in the pocket. And he's going for Greg Olson. And he caught it! He got it! Touchdown, Patriots! Touchdown, Patriots!
Welcome back to the rain delay. I'm Justin Avedissian here with Nick DeCicco, and we're outside Mr. Jalali's room, and we're going to hear his intake on what the Yankees and Mets have to do to improve this season. Here with Coach G. Coach, what do you think? What are 2 things the Yankees and Mets have to do to improve?
Starting with the Yanks, the one thing I would look to do is probably re-sign Sabathia. I know he's looking for an extension. A man at 6'8", 300 pounds. I don't know if a 7-year extension, he'll be like 40 years old at the end of that, is worth it. But you got to keep the guy in pinstripes. He wins a lot of big games, gets him to the playoffs, gets him pretty deep in the playoffs. The other thing, I'd probably try to keep A-Rod healthy. He's still got a little pop in the bat. Skills diminishing a little bit as he's getting older, but keep the guy healthy. You never know; he's still capable of putting up 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. As for the Mets, as a Met fan, aside from a miracle, they need to re-sign Jose Reyes. Have to re-sign Jose Reyes, and the other thing would be to get Johan Santana back, so they have a true number 1 in the staff. But I don't think either of those will probably happen, and that's just the way the Mets have been rolling for the last couple of years. So that would be what I think both of those squads need to do to get going for next year.
All right, thanks a lot.
Hey, I'm here with Mr. DiMatulis, and I just want to get your opinion on what the Yankees and Mets both need to do to improve on the next upcoming season.
Well, I could talk more so for the Mets, but I'll start off with the Yankees. I noticed this year that the Yankees hit a lot of home runs and had a lot of RBIs, but their batting average really lacked this year. So they need to improve their hitting, okay? They need to improve their batting average. Another thing they need to do is re-sign CC Sabathia because he's the anchor of that starting rotation. Without CC Sabathia and a good hitting and a good batting average, you're not going to be able to get far. Now, the Mets need to plug in the holes. They got a hole at second base, they got a hole at catcher, they got a hole in left field, okay, and they got a hole in the whole pitching staff, all right? And they have to improve their relief pitching, and they also have to improve their starting pitching. They can't count on Johan Santana to come back and be the same way he always was, okay? And they also need to make sure that Ike Davis is healthy this year, because a strong Ike Davis means a strong, solid lineup.
Thank you very much.
Justin Avedissian here with student Nick Appaluccio. Nick, what 2 things do you think the Yankees and Mets have to do to improve next season?
Well, the Yankees they need to replace Posada. He's going down, he's getting old, so they need to get a new DH for him. And the Mets can really improve at any position. They need help everywhere.
All right, thanks a lot.
I'm here with Coach Boz. Coach Boz, what are the 2 things the Yankees and Mets both need to do to improve on the upcoming season?
Well, I think the Mets, they're a brutal team to begin with, but I think their pitching staff's pretty weak. And I think they may lose a couple guys to free agency. Jose Reyes may be gone. David Wright's they're talking about leaving, so they're going to have to improve their infield a little bit. As far as the Yankees, they need to add a couple starting pitchers. Definitely re-sign CC if he decides to opt out. And I don't know, their lineup's pretty solid. If they could add like one real good bat into the lineup, they'll be unstoppable.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, guys.
Nick, we've had some great interviews. The overwhelming favorite of what the Yankees and Mets have to do is the Yankees have to re-sign CC and maybe add another bat. Mets, got to hope to sign Reyes back and pretty much need some pitching. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, all that is valid for both teams, but the Yankees really do need to add a bat that puts some average, not just power, in the lineup. I mean, I don't even think there were more than 2 players on the Yankees that batted over 300. Jeter needs to be able to stay healthy the whole year. So does A-Rod. I mean, Jeter coming off the DL when he did was huge because he batted an unbelievable rest of the season. But they definitely need to re-sign CC and maybe even add a pitcher like C.J. Wilson. The Mets, however, they need a lot. They need definitely new infield. They definitely need to re-sign Jose Reyes, like we said before. They need a whole lot of pitching, like maybe Johan Santana, sorry. He needs to come back, but he's just not the answer. They're going to need a lot more pitching from both relief and starting positions. But the Yankees have an easier task, but both need to do a lot to improve.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. The Yankees definitely need to re-sign CC and add, if they add C.J. Wilson, I think they're automatically a World Series contender. Just you got CC, Nova, Burnett, and if you add CJ, that's incredible. 4 pitchers right there. But I also think they, got to keep A-Rod healthy, like Dimatula said. I really think a lot of Yankee fans like Brett Gardner. I'm not one of them, though. I really don't think he's a Yankee. He reminds me more of a National League leadoff hitter. I think they got to go out there on the free agent market, sign a power-hitting lefty like a Yankee should, get some home runs, really hit for power, not too crazy about the speed.
Well, the thing Brent Gardner does bring is speed to the game, and he actually helps the Yankees, I think, in a little bit of a way, because when he bats 9th, everyone thinks, all right, we got Jeter next, so he's a good average hitter. So when Gardner gets on, then they're going to be, oh, God, this guy's going to steal second, and then Jeter's going to get a base hit. It's a run automatic. That's why the Yankees, I think, are holding on to him. But I also agree that I don't think Gardner is one of the best players for the Yankees right now, but I don't think he hurts him at all either. I mean, he doesn't hit the ball particularly well, but when he gets on base, he gets in the pitcher's head so much that the batter has 10 times an easier way to hit the ball than anybody else.
All right. And I agree with all that, and I think that's great. Stay tuned for more rain delay. See you in a bit.
But here we go. Lucas will inbound the corner with 3 minutes to go. She gets it to Giametta. Giametta corrals it, puts a shot on net. Deflected into the net. A goal by Brittany Galone. And Wayne Hills wins the North 1 Group 3 state championship. Oh, baby, call your friends. Call your friends. Wayne Hills state champions, baby.
Couldn't script it any better, Joe. Couldn't script it any better myself.
What a shot by Brittany Galone off the deflection from Jacqueline Giametta, and Wayne Hills wins the North 1 Group 3 state championship in dramatic fashion.
Welcome back to the Rain Delay, everyone. Now we have Justin and Nick back on the set here. So, guys, welcome back to the set. They're basically going to be talking about the fact that computers favor the Big 12, but championships favor the SEC because they've dominated in the past. Guys, throwing this one to you since you guys know more than I do about this.
Well, Mike, the SEC, definitely had dominated the championship game for the last decade, I would say, at least, with teams like Florida, Auburn, Alabama, of course. Even South Carolina made big strides last year. Ole Miss is a good team. Vanderbilt is okay, but the dominance of the SEC from over the Big 12 in the championship game is overwhelming. The SEC just blows teams away in the championship game. For example, like when Florida had to play Ohio State in the championship game, Florida overmatched them completely. Anyway. But to go down with teams like Florida, they're having some trouble right now.
Yeah. Quarterback John Brantley, really the soul of their team. He's hurt currently. But still, there was a lot of noise about him coming in. I still think he's a very good quarterback, but Florida definitely needs to find their stride a little bit.
Yeah. Georgia. They've actually, I think, went down in the ranks the last couple of years. I believe they were even rated to win the national championship. I believe was 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not really
there's-
sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt Georgia's definitely got the talent pool they need to be really successful. But just their coach is definitely on the hot seat too. He's been taking a lot of heat.
Mhm.
He deserves to though too. I mean, when you're talking to Georgia, you get some of the best recruits in the country. So they really got
We're
to step
talking
it up
about in
too.
the press, news, everything.
Exactly. I mean, it's just Georgia. I don't know what's been going on with them, but they definitely have the talent to win a national title, or even just be ranked in a higher position than they are right now. Anyway, going on to Mississippi State, they're having a disappointing season right now. They're not winning that many games. I mean, everyone had actually a lot of hype for this team this year because the last couple of years they've been raising, and I mean, it's just been a little bit disappointing for that college program.
Exactly. We got to give credit to the whole program because up until a couple years ago, Mississippi State wasn't really thought to be anything too special, but they really put themselves on the map the last couple of years. You can look forward to them in the SEC to be pretty good contenders in the SEC every year.
Yeah, exactly. And Tennessee also, I mean, they're kind of like Georgia. I mean, they've been falling back the last couple of years. I mean, I know my good friend Justin Beverage, very big Tennessee fan, but he always talks about how they need a real head coach there. I mean, the last couple of years they've been switching head coaches.
The whole Lane Kiffin thing
Exactly.
destroyed them, yeah.
That, I don't even get why they would even do that. I mean, yeah, he was an NFL coach, but I mean, he didn't even do good in the NFL. I mean, he's young. I know he wants to win, but sometimes when you're not even a good coach, the want to win is just completely away from the will to win. Also, Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama's a given. I mean, they're favorites to win the whole thing every year. Nick Saban, just one of the best coaches of all time, and you got Richardson in the backfield. It's not going to be that hard to win.
Exactly. I mean, they're not even kind of missing even Ingram at all. I mean, they're playing great football, defense and offense. But going on to the next team, Auburn. Auburn, I mean, with Cam Newton gone, I think they've taken a step back. But, I mean, they're still good contenders. They win games, especially games late this season. The first couple weeks of the season, they came back from deficits in actually the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, without Cam Newton, you're obviously going to take a blow. But I think they'll be all right.
Yeah. Going to LSU. I mean, LSU, great team this year. Last year, they kind of, I believe they took a little bit of a backstep last year, but this year they came back fighting. They were rated number 1 for most of the season so far. And then they just played great. Anyway, let's go over to the Big 12.
Yep.
Go ahead with Texas, Justin.
Texas got really sound defense. I think they're improving. Fozzie Whitaker is really carrying the load for them. They'll be all right, I think. But Oklahoma is really the strong team of that conference.
Absolutely.
Landry Jones gonna be a top draft pick. I love his arm. I think he's a great quarterback. And Ryan Broyles, I think he's the best receiver in the country. Great hands, great routes, and he's gonna be really good.
Yeah, Texas Tech. I mean, I remember them from a couple of years ago. They beat who did they upset? Texas when they were number 1.
They had Crabtree, yeah.
Exactly, when they had Michael Crabtree.
Yeah.
And they were a really big hype team for the last couple of years. This year, I mean, playing okay. Not doing great, but they're doing good. Anyway, let's go to Oklahoma State as well, Justin.
Yeah, Justin Blackman. I mean, he's the other great receiver this year. We all seen what he can do with his quarterback, Brian Whedon. Guy's 27, 26 years old, but proven he can get the job done, and he's really the leader of that team.
Exactly. Reminds me a lot of Ryan Mallett. Anyway.
Guys, I'm going to have to cut you off. That's all the time we have for this segment of the Rain Delay. Stay tuned for our other reporters, Alex Green and Josh Mordkoff, as they talk about the late retrieval of Carson Palmer from the Bengals.
And that's the game. That is the game. Your Wayne Hills Patriots beat the Northern Highlanders 4-1. There was pandemonium at Patriot Stadium. Wayne Hills 4, Northern Highlands 1. A great game by both teams, but obviously Wayne Hills coming out on top.
Welcome back to the Rain Delay, bringing you the latest in professional, collegiate, and high school sports. I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff, along with co-host and friend Alex Green. First off, we are covering the recent trade of former Bengals quarterback Carson Palmer to the Oakland Raiders. Alex, give us some background on the subject.
Well, Josh, first of all, it's great to be here again. Secondly, Carson Palmer has he's a pretty elite quarterback, and he has a history in the league. He was on the Bengals for 7+ years, and I believe he was the Heisman winner from USC in 2002 and the #1 pick in the 2003 NFL draft. And he went to the Bengals, and he had some great seasons on the Bengals. In his 5 full seasons, he averaged 3,800 yards passing. So, I mean, he's a really pretty elite quarterback. He had some issues with the owner of the Bengals, Mike Brown, who truthfully is one of the worst owners in sports. He was like, I don't like the way you're running the team. You're running the team into the ground. You constantly waste draft picks, waste money, waste trades. Like, I want to be on a winning team. So, like, if we don't start winning now, like, I want to leave. And sure enough, they didn't start winning. Carson had a big issue with this. He's like, trade me or I'm retiring. And then Mike Brown is really stubborn. He was like, no, I'm not giving you what you want. So I'm going to waste your $14 million salary and just sit you on the bench. And still, that's $14 million that they could have signed for, like, free agents. And, that's just on the bench. But recently, Mike Brown got an offer that was too good to refuse from the Oakland Raiders, where they wanted Carson Palmer because their quarterback just broke his collarbone, and the Raiders want to succeed. So they're 4-2, or they were 4-2 at the time, I should say, excuse me. And when their quarterback, Jason Campbell, broke his collarbone, they're like, we want to succeed this year, so we need to, get a good quarterback. And they're like, we'll offer you a first-round pick in the upcoming draft and a conditional first or second-round pick in the 2013 draft for Carson Palmer. And, the Raiders owners were like, or sorry, not the Raiders owners, Mike Brown and the other, managers of the team, of the Bengals, were like, we can't, not accept that trade. It's just too good of a trade for our team. So sure enough, Carson and his $14 million salary are going over to Oakland.
Now, do you think it was selfish at all? I mean, despite the conditions that Mike Brown was putting the team under, do you think it was selfish of Carson Palmer to demand the trade early on?
I would say yes and no. I think Carson was leader of the team. He was the offensive captain for sure. And he played, 5 or 6 fantastic seasons with the team. And he got them to the playoffs, at least once. And that was like the one time in the prior 20 seasons that they'd had, that they'd gotten to the playoffs. So Carson was a really big factor on the team. And he was like, okay, well, now that we finally got to the playoffs, like, you're going to let all these players get away. So, like, while every other team's getting better, like, we're getting worse. Like, I don't want to see our team get worse. Like, I want to succeed. Like, I want a Super Bowl before, I retire. And sure enough, he got so fed up with it and the, poor ownership of Mike Brown that he was like, I'm done. Like, trade me or I'm retiring. Sure enough, he never retired and spent, 6 weeks on the bench for the Bengals in the 2011 season. Finally got his way.
Now, he was making, he was on a $14 million contract for the Bengals?
He had like an 8-year, $114 million contract or something. So he was in, one of the middle years of his contract, getting paid $14 million a year. I think 2011 he's getting paid around $14 million. What's left on his contract is like $6.9 million. So, that $6.9 million is going to get paid by the Raiders. But so basically, it was $14 million sitting on the bench out of your cap room. That's ridiculous if you're the Bengals.
Not a very smart move by Coach Brown there. Is Carson Palmer going to get any sort of pay raise or any change in his contract now that he's with the Raiders?
That's an interesting question because the Raiders only had about $6 million in cap, and his contract, or Palmer's contract for the rest of the season, is supposed to be $6.9 million. So how they're going to do that, I'm not really sure. It's one of those things where, let's get him first, worry about it later. But I think Carson said he's open to restructuring his contract now that he finally got what he wanted. When he brought up the rumors that he was going to retire, he said, I have $100 million left in the bank. Like, money's not an issue. Like, I can retire and live happily the rest of my life. So I don't think it's really about the money anymore for Carson now that he's on a team that he actually can succeed with.
Definitely. I mean, if it was about the money, he'd probably, stay with the Bengals and not even worry about playing, just make the rest of his contract out. Well, Alex, that's all the time we have for this segment. Don't leave your seats, folks, because we'll be right back with more Rain Delay.
Back to pass, throws a ball, and it's going to be intercepted by Ronnie Drees. Drees has a king walk into the end zone, and Drees brings it in for the touchdown. What a turn of events, folks.
And we're back with the Rain Delay. For those of you just tuning in, I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff.
And I'm your co-host, Alex Green.
So now we're going to change gears and talk about an odd and somewhat interesting and funny story in this year's World Series. 42-year-old pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals will get the W no matter what. As you may know, and obviously we know, his name is Arthur Rhodes. Alex, explain the situation.
Arthur Rhodes is a 42, nearly 43-year-old pitcher.
Yeah.
Been in the major leagues for, let's see, it's 2011, since 1988. So what is that, 23 years? It's a long time. He's drafted by the Orioles in 1988. And, tried as a starter, didn't really have much success, but really found some success in the bullpen in 1996. But never even came close to, reaching the World Series. And until this year, that is. And he started this season on the Rangers, who are the AL champions, obviously. And he got released in August and then picked up 3 days later by the Cardinals. And they're the NL champions, so no matter what, he's going to get a World Series ring, win or lose.
Which, this isn't the first time it's happened, although it's a pretty cool situation. The guy, whether he pitches well or not, he's still going to get the ring and get to put it in his trophy case.
The amazing thing is, not only is it not the first time it happened, but it actually happened to two players in last year's World Series. So, it's happened to, 8 players, overall. And last year it happened to 2 players in the World Series, Benji Melita and Chris Ray. And they both got rings no matter what their team's outcome was. And, now it's Arthur Rhodes. So, but I do think Rhodes is a bit more of an achievement story and also an overcoming story.
Yeah.
Talking about, how his son, when he was, in 2008, his son was 5 years old and just passed away. And I think that's heartbreaking and devastating, and it touches me, and I've never met the guy.
Yeah.
And he writes JR on the side of his jersey because his son's name is Jordan. So Jordan Rhodes, JR on the side of his jersey every time he enters a game. So that's pretty emotional. So I think this could not happen to a greater guy.
And this guy, they say he's youthful, he's perpetually youthful, and he brings a light of happiness to the team. And a cool thing is he's been a teammate to everybody in this World Series in the World Series games this year. And he's going to have a great time. Whether he's up or bad, he'll be joking around with the Texas catcher, the Texas pitcher. And I think it's just going to be an enjoyable series for him this year.
So he's been on numerous teams, started with the Orioles, went to the Mariners, the Athletics, the Indians, to the Phillies, back to the Mariners, to the Marlins, the Reds, the Rangers, and now the Cardinals. So he's been a journeyman in his 23 years in the league. And I know we're both certainly happy to see him finally get some success, but he's really a success story in the fact that he got better with age, too.
Right.
He was an all-star in 2010, at the age of 41, 42 years old, so that says a lot about his character, like you said, eternally youthful, always jovial, that guy who, pumps up the other teammates, cheers them up whenever they're in a bad mood.
Right.
There always needs to be one guy like that in the clubhouse, and that's Arthur Rhodes.
Especially as a relief pitcher, he's a guy that's not going to be out there the whole time. He'll be on the bench. He'll be pumping everybody else up, and even at such an old age, he's going to keep doing it. And he's just one of those guys that you want to have on your bench. He brings an air of, I guess, happiness, motivation for the team. He's a great player, and I think a good pickup for the Cardinals this season.
Absolutely. In 2010, he tied a single-season record with 33 consecutive scoreless appearances. Like I said, made his first All-Star team. And at the age of nearly 43, he's still in top physical shape and throws his fastball in the low 90 mile per hour. So that's absolutely astounding. And Rhodes, like we said, is in small company. There were 2 players last year. Before that, there have only been 5 players in the past 60 years who had the same fate as Rhodes. So I think it's just fate that this guy who's been such a fantastic person and just so unlucky as to never make the World Series, finally gets it. At his age near retirement.
Yeah, and it's great that he's going to be getting a ring this year, no matter what.
Absolutely, like he said it. He said, and I quote, "It's special, man. I worked my tail off for 20 years, and gotta love it." So, he worked his tail off for 20 years, like he said, and he's still working it off.
I got to cut you off there, Alex. We're out of time for this week. Tune in next time for more Rain Delay. Cover up the field, folks, because we're back with the rain delay. I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff, along with my lovely co-host, Alex Green, here to bring you the latest in the world of sports. First on this week's segment, game-changing news from the NFL. Alex, tell us a little bit about the injury suffered by the Bears' hot QB, Jay Cutler.
Well, the Chicago Bears are very, very much thick in the wild card race. They have a wild card right now for the playoffs, and they're second in the NFC North, behind the Packers. But unfortunately, it looks like it's going to get a lot tougher for them down the stretch because their star QB, I'll give him that, Jay Cutler, broke his thumb and looks to be out for the rest of the season. He broke his thumb against the San Diego Chargers in a 31-20 win. After he threw an interception, he tried tackling the defender that made the interception, Antoine Cason. He ended up finishing the game, but afterwards, with MRIs and X-rays, discovered that he actually broke his thumb. He got some stitches and splints and whatever the doctors did, and looks like he'll be out for the rest of the season.
How do you think this is going to go on to affect the Bears in their playoff run?
Yeah, it's tough to say because no one really knows how important of a factor Jay Cutler was in the Bears' offense, because I think the Bears' offense really relies a lot more on their running back, Matt Forte. But now it's going to rely even more on Forte. But I think Cutler was a capable quarterback, a pretty good quarterback too, but didn't get as many opportunities as Forte had. But with him out, they're going to go to their backup, Caleb Haney, who had a terrible first start, threw 3 interceptions. But, it was his first shot. I'll give him some slack. But if Haney continues to play like the way he did in his first start, it's going to be a long rest of the season for Chicago Bears.
Do you think it's worth it if the Bears went for a free agent at this point in the game?
Truthfully, I think it's Haney's spot because at this point, I don't know what free agents they're going to get because, like, Jake Delhomme is off the table. Kyle Orton was picked off of waivers by the Chiefs. So, now you really have Haney. I think he's going to start. And I think he was rusty. It was his first time seeing the field pretty much this whole season. It was his first time starting, really. So, but I think as the season goes on, he'll get, I don't want to say a lot better, but I think he'll certainly improve rather than regress, excuse me.
All right. Now, besides Jay Cutler and the Bears, what other teams thus far are probably going to see, a big deficit because of lost players in the playoffs?
Going first to playoff teams, definitely the Houston Texans. They're up in the AFC South by 2 games over the Titans, and they were having a really good season, really good running game with Ben Tate and Arian Foster, and their quarterback, Matt Schaub, got injured, and then their second string quarterback, Matt Leinart, broke his collarbone. He also looks to be out for the season. So their first 2 quarterbacks are now out, and they recently just signed Jake Delhomme, so he might start, and he was pretty good on the Panthers, led them to a Super Bowl in 2002, but hasn't played in a little while, so it'll be interesting to see how they perform, because I think they're going to make the playoffs just because they're in a weak division, have an easy schedule. But they're a run first team anyway with Foster and Tate, so it'll be interesting to see just how the Texans do when they're in the playoffs, because as of right now, they're tied for first in the AFC.
Going back to the Bears, how do you think they'll be able to compete in their conference?
Well, the Bears have to make the playoff first, and right now they're in a good position, but you have teams on your back. You have the Detroit Lions, you have Atlanta Falcons, New York Giants. So they're really facing the most injuries out of those 3 teams. So the Giants have a tough schedule, so they might not make it, but the Falcons and Lions both look to have a pretty competitive edge against the Bears now, because the Bears are now down to their second-string quarterback. So I think the Bears can still make it to the playoffs if they rely on Forte, and he's been playing and he plays like he has been this whole season. But it's going to get a lot tougher for them down the stretch. And even if they do make the playoffs, I don't see them getting past the first round.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to help that they're in one of the tougher divisions in the league. Thanks, Alex, but we're out of time for now. Don't blink. The rain delay will be right back.
Excellent protection all the time in the world. Looking downfield, looking for Van Penen, triple covered, sticks it in there, flags on the play. Van Penen ahead to the 20, looking for the sideline. He's across the 10, near the goal line, dives. Touchdown, Ray Van Penen.
And we're back. For those of you who are just tuning in now, I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff, and with me I have my absolutely stunning co-host, Alex Green. You're looking great today, Alex. Did you get a haircut or something?
Thank you, Josh, but nope, nothing's changed. Just the same beautiful face as always.
Now we're going to move into some good news for a change for Ohio State football. As you know, they have recently hired a new coach, Urban Meyer, former 2-time championship-winning coach from the University of Florida. Tell us a little bit about Urban Meyer, Alex.
Well, recently in the news, Ohio State hired former, like you said, Florida coach and national championship winning coach Urban Meyer, and I think it's a perfect hire for Ohio State. He grew up in Ohio, went to Cincinnati or University of Cincinnati for college. I believe in '86 and '87, he coached wide receivers and tight ends at Ohio State before moving on to bigger and better things. And he always said it was one of his dreams to work at Ohio State, and now he finally has that opportunity. So I think it's a really fantastic hire for Ohio State.
Now, as a coach, what is he going to bring to this Ohio State football team?
Myers is very well known for his spread offense. When he was at Bowling Green about a decade ago, he would go to like Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia and other fantastic spread offenses and really honed and mastered the spread offense. And I think that it's been really successful everywhere he's gone. And I think that it will continue to be successful when he brings it to Ohio State in the future.
Do you think it's going to be tough for the Ohio State players to warm up to Coach Meyer?
I don't think so at all. I think that everywhere he's coached, he's had a pretty long tenure. Never really been fired. I think all the players love him, all the administration love him, and because there's been so much scandal and everything in the news with Ohio State and Penn State, he's never been discovered of any skeletons in his closet or anything. Seems like a really great guy. He's like a no BS guy. Really goes hard, and I think that's gonna be really good for Ohio State because they need that type of guy to get them going, to get them fired up.
And Urban Meyer is known to in the past. I mean, he's been given the Coach of the Year award at Utah, and he's proven to bring greatness to some teams. How do you think Ohio State is going to do under him in the long run?
Well, looking back 2004 when he led Utah to an undefeated season, 12-0, beat Pittsburgh in the Fiesta Bowl. Fantastic season. That really put him on the map. That was right the season before he went to Florida. And I think Ohio State, I believe, is 6-6 this year. So it's really an off year for them. But I think that he'll really step up really quickly, and I think you could see them win a national championship in the next 5 to 7 years, because he's unfortunately with their scandal they lost some scholarships. But even when Meyer left Florida in 2010, he left Florida with the #1 recruiting class in the country. So aside from being a great coach and a great guy, he's a fantastic recruiter, and I think that'll really come in handy in the near future.
Alex, do you think there's anything that Coach Meyer is going to have to get used to as making the change from Florida to Ohio State? Is there any big differences that he's going to definitely have to get himself accustomed to?
Well, when he was at Florida, the SEC was the most competitive conference in the nation, and I don't know if he'll face that same competition in the Big Ten, so it'll make it a little easier for him. But something he won't be used to is the rivalry with Michigan, where it's one of the most hated rivalries in sports. Those two teams absolutely loathe each other. And I don't think Meyer's ever faced that before, and I think it'll take some time to get accustomed to that, especially with Michigan now on top of that rivalry. He has to get it back.
Speaking of the Big Ten, give us a little bit of the lowdown on some of the competition it's going to be new for Urban Meyer in this new conference for him.
Well, of course, I said Michigan. They have a great quarterback in Nard Robinson, and I think obviously they always play each other tough because they're rivals, and I think that's going to be his biggest challenge throughout his tenure. But looking at Wisconsin and Nebraska, those are two perennially good teams. Michigan State's been on the map pretty recently. So it's not that there's not as much competition. There's not competition in the Big Ten. It's just the SEC is such a quality conference that almost every team you play was competitive, where I think you're going to get some breaks like Indiana or Northwestern when you're playing in the Big Ten.
Right. Now, on a more personal note for Coach Meyer, as you know, he had to take a leave of absence back in 2009 when he was a coach for the University of Florida because he had some, I guess he called it chest pains and problems with dehydration. How do you think this can affect him now at Ohio State?
Well, in 2009, he took a leave of absence, and then, like a month later, he was like, I'm going to come back. Came back another season before saying there were some health issues and that he wanted to spend time with his family. So he retired a season at Florida, spent a year broadcasting with his family. And if you're going to leave a top program like Florida, I assume those health concerns were pretty serious. But, if he's ready to come back, I think that he's fully healthy, because I don't think he would come back if he wasn't fully healthy because of how serious those health issues must have been.
Right.
So, no one really knows how serious they are, but, he says that he's healthy, and until he proves otherwise, I'm going to believe him.
As far as recruiting goes, does he really have a big spot to fill for Ohio State? Is he definitely going to have to fill some guys up with, especially picking kids up from high schools around the country?
Ohio State's always been and they've been a fantastic team in the past decade. And Ohio's got a lot of talent, and I think that he's really going to hone that talent and bring it into Ohio State. 3 of the top 4 recruits in the nation this year are considering Ohio State. And I think now that Urban Meyer's the coach, they're going to be more strongly considering Ohio State. So right off the bat, if you can get 1 or 2 of those top 4 recruits, that's a huge help to your team immediately.
Yeah, Alex, I definitely think Ohio State has some good things coming in their future, especially with new coach Urban Meyer. That's all the time we have for right now. Don't go anywhere. The Rain Delay will be right back.
High formation for the Patriots right now, and the fans are on their feet. Monahan, look at that, he's back in the pocket, and he's going for Greg Olsen, and he caught it! He got it! Touchdown, Patriots! Touchdown, Patriots!
Welcome back to the Rain Delay. I'm your host, Josh Mordkoff, here with Alex Green. And we are not only welcoming back the viewers, but also the NBA. The players and owners have finally come to an agreement after 149 long days of a lockout. Give us a quick summary of the NBA lockout and how it finally came to an end.
Well, Josh, the lockout went 149 days, and I'm excited it's over. But we planned to have streamers and balloons for this. Sort of said we couldn't get that, but Wayne Hills, But the NBA lockout, like I said, 149 days, and it was a lot of arguing between the owners and the players, and they were really far off on what each side wanted. In the last collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, the players got 57% of all basketball-related income, and the owners were like, we're losing tons of money, hundreds of $1 million cumulatively. And they're like, we can't have you get 57. And they're like, we want you to get like 48. And the players are like, no, like we deserve a lot more than 48. Like, we're the ones earning you the money. And as of right now, it looks like it's going to be 51.7% that the players are going to get, and 48.3, if I'm correct, is the number for the owners. So after 149 days, they finally came to an agreement, and the season's going to start late. It's going to be 66 games. It's going to start on Christmas Day, December 25th. You have 3 fantastic games, starting with the Knicks and the Celtics. December 9th starts training camps and free agency opens. And once free agency opens, a lot of stuff is going to break loose. So that should be really interesting.
Alex, do you think the agreement that was decided upon was the right choice?
I don't know whether it's the right choice because I don't know whether either side is happy. But I think it's just the best thing they had to do because the owners and the players are both losing tons of money without the season, without all the TV revenue and everything. And I think that they wanted to salvage the season as best they could. And they were in there 15 hours a day talking about how we can make an agreement, and they finally did it. So whether or not it's the right decision, I think it's the best decision that had to happen. Yeah,
and it wasn't just about the players or the coaches making or the administration making money. It was also about the fans. I mean, I miss watching basketball, but I'm very excited that it's back. All right, Alex. So let's talk about this soon-to-be active NBA. What is going to happen with all these players who have made foreign contracts and won't even be in the country by the time the season starts?
I'm a Nets fan, so let's start with Darren Williams. He went to Turkey, played with Besiktas, and he was pretty good, but he played out his contract. He's coming back once the season starts, so he'll be back. But if you're looking at other teams, like for instance the Denver Nuggets, they have 4 players that are playing overseas, and I mean they're in a contract right now that says they technically shouldn't be allowed to go back. But knowing how powerful the NBA is, I'm sure they'll find a way back. So it looks like at this point, most, if not all, the players are going to come back in time for the start of the season, if not in time for training camp.
Now, clear this up for me. When they left to go overseas, were they still under contract with their current NBA teams?
It's tough to say because there was no collective bargaining agreement because it expired. So I think they were still under contract, but there was no NBA season to have.
Right, there's no league whatsoever.
Exactly. So they're still under contract, I guess, but the owners couldn't do anything about it if they wanted to play anywhere else because the NBA Players Association disbanded, so they really had no power over the NBA players.
Right. So then they could just kind of do whatever they want, go wherever they want, make whatever money they want. Next, free agency. What's going to happen when it opens up?
December 9th, free agency starts, and it should be very interesting. You're looking at like Tyson Chandler, for example, should be highly pursued. He's one of the top free agents. But aside from that, you're also looking at like trades, like Chris Paul. A rumor that he really wants to go to the Knicks and play with one of his good friends, Carmelo Anthony. So if the Knicks get Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony, and Amari Stoudemire, they could be a team to reckon with, like a very, very dangerous team that can compete with the Heat's big three. And also more trade news is that Dwight Howard of the Orlando Magic, one of the superstars in the league, the New Jersey Nets, my team made a trade offer for him where they would trade Brook Lopez and 2 future first-round picks for Howard and Hedo Turkoglu, who has a huge contract. So it's very enticing for the Magic because they want to get that huge contract off their back. And it's very interesting for the Nets because if they can get Dwight Howard along with Darren Williams, they can also be a team to reckon with in the East.
Yeah, so I definitely think we're going to see some things blow up. There's a lot of stuff that can happen once the season opens up. Also, Alex, who is your number one team to look for in the NBA?
I think as of right now, it's got to be the Heat. You know, they have their big three in LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. And I think those 3 superstars are 3 of the best players in the league. And they got to the NBA Finals last year, lost to the Mavericks. But I think that was like a building period, like a meshing period for that team. It was the first time all 3 players playing together. Now in their second season, I think they got it. I think they'll win the championship.
I'm going to have to go with the Knicks for this one, Alex. I think they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. You know, Amare and Carmelo had, some time to bond last season, and, they played really greatly together. And, if this Chris Paul trade can go through, I think, they'll really definitely be able to compete with the Heat this season.
Absolutely.
Question. How do you think this shortened season is going to affect the players and coaches?
Well, I think it'll be similar to what we saw in the NFL, where I think injuries will be a little more likely because they had less time with their trainers. Right. And also I think we're going to see a lot of more high-scoring games because, like in the NFL, there wasn't a lot of defense because there wasn't a lot of time to train with the lockout. And I think we'll see the same thing with the NBA because I think it's a lot easier to score than it is to play defense.
Right.
And, with the lack of training they're going to get because of the lockout and because they couldn't play, I think you're going to see a lot of high-scoring games.
Very true. Biggest surprise of this new season, who's it going to be?
I want to say the Nets. If they can get Dwight Howard along with Darren Williams, they can be an Eastern Conference Finals team. And if they don't, no one really knows how far Darren Williams, can carry them. But he's an all-star, and I think he can carry them to the playoffs.
Now, as far as the lockout itself goes, do you think there's going to be any, tight conflict possibly still going on beyond the agreement?
This 10-year CBA is now in effect that people can opt out in 2017, but I think as of right now, they just want to get the season on and over with. They want to make their money, the players and the owners. But I think, you wait 6 years, 2017, one side could opt out. But, in the near future, I don't see it happening.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Very interesting. We're out of time for this segment. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, Justin Avedissian with guest James Ben Fatty to fill you in with the latest on Wayne Hills hockey.
4 wide receivers set wide back to pass. Throws a ball, and it's going to be intercepted by Ronnie Drees. Drees has a cakewalk into the end zone, and Drees brings it in for the touchdown. What a turn of events, folks.
Welcome back to the Rain Delay. I'm here joined with varsity hockey captain James and Fatty. James, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good. James, first let's get to know some of the key players for this year's squad.
Key players this year is me, Kyle Blazier, John Stessel, Michael Tiro, Erhan Sorelli, and AJ Riccardi, and Sam Finkler also.
All right. What do you think separates you from the other guys on your team that got you elected captain?
My leadership, my hard work, my dedication to this team over the past 4 years.
All right. What about, can you tell us a little bit about Coach Bell?
Coach Bell, he's a great guy. He's a very hard worker. He never gives up. He's a great leader, and he's a great coach.
And what do you think he brings to the table as far as, coaches in the past like Berkowitz? What's going to separate him from other coaches?
He brings his leadership in his resume also. He's a very good coach. He's a very good winning streak with his track team, and he's just a great guy, and he just knows a lot about coaching.
All right. And what do you think? Well, first of all, how do you think the team looks this year so far?
So far, we look better than last year at this point, and I predict they're going to be over 500 this year.
Yeah, but compared to the past, what does the team have to do this year to get better?
We have to stay as a team the whole year. We stay as a team the whole year. We can't divide, and we can't play individual hockey. We have to play team hockey the whole way through.
All right. You got some big games on the schedule like every year. Wayne Valley, is the Mayor's Cup. Other than Wayne Valley, Wayne Valley is such a highly anticipated game. What are some other big games?
Big games this year: Ramapo and Northern Highlands are the best teams in the Big North this year.
All right. If you had to, I don't know. If you had to evaluate a lot of guys in your team, what makes Erhan such a great goalie?
Well, he's been playing hockey forever now, and his athleticism also plays a big part in that. He's just a great goalie. He has great skills.
And could you tell us how important is it to have good chemistry on especially every line, but who's on your line and how do you feel?
I have freshman Danny Rydell and sophomore Pete Beckmore, and they're both great hockey players. And it's a chemistry is just off and on the ice. It just helps on the ice. If your friends off the ice, it's going to pay off on the ice.
All right. Years past, you've clearly struggled. I mean, it's not a secret.
Yeah.
Do you think, being with like you said, you're being with two freshmen, do you really think do you think that's gonna be a problem, or,
At times, it's gonna be a problem at times, but also it's hockey, so it's not gonna be a big change for them.
All right. And can you talk give us a little about the assistant coach this year?
Assistant coach, Sirs, he's a great hockey player. He's played high level hockey. He knows a lot. He knows a lot about what he's talking about, so he's a good guy. He's a good coach.
All right, and do you have a record prediction for this year? Not just 500, just like a overall record.
I'm gonna say 9-7.
9-7. All right. Talking about other players on the team like Sam Finkler, what makes him such a good player?
He's great at offense. He can put the puck in the net.
All right, nice, short and sweet. And what about defense? I think that's really been an area of concern, especially the last couple of years. Haven't had the strongest defense. Last year, really didn't have security in the net like you'd want from a team with Erhan and Chris. So defense, what is it? What's AJ going to have to do, and who are some other guys that are going to really have to step up?
He's just step up a lot this year. He's a younger guy, but he's going to play a lot of time this year. And John, he's a veteran guy, knows a lot of what he's doing, so he's going to be a big part of the defense this year. And Sam Ackerman is also a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He's going to be a big part, play a lot of time this year.
All right, and who on the JV? I don't want to say JV team because you got a big game Friday the 2nd coming up. Who that necessarily might not be on the starting varsity squad right now has a chance to work their way up?
Josh Filipovitz, sophomore. He's a good hockey player. He knows what he's doing. He's a smart hockey player. And Mike Brozik's a freshman. He's good at defense. He's a pretty good player.
All right, and last thing, really, how do you think? Because I think this year, after you guys graduate, you're going to lose a lot of talent everywhere. What's Coach Bell going to have to do to hopefully keep a winning team alive? What's going to have to happen?
Just hard work. Just outwork every other team in our conference. Just work harder than them. They're working at the time you're working.
All right, James, great job. That's all the time we have left for this segment. Don't go anywhere. More rain delay when we get back.
And here comes Ricky off to a good start with the salad and Elmu milk. He's going for the nacho cheese chips. Oh, and he puts them back and goes for the classics. An interesting choice there.
Looks like he wants to eat more healthy today, John. And now it looks like he's going to get a cookie.
Oatmeal.
Oh, baby, that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's nacho cheese, though.
Welcome back to the Rain Delay. I'm your host, Justin Avedissian, here joined with Doug Schweibel. Doug, how you doing?
Great to be here.
We're going to be discussing first, though, we're going to deal with the Heisman update. Doug, tell us a little bit about Tyrann Mathieu.
Tyrann Mathieu, great player out of number 1 ranked, undefeated LSU Tigers. LSU just got into the championship bowl game. A lot of heavy people over there. A lot of people want to see him get the Heisman Trophy award. A lot of people, including me. He draws a lot of parallels to the cornerback, the only defensive player ever to win it, Charles Woodson, has 4 total touchdowns and is by far the best player on this LSU defense.
All right, and that being said, who do you think is going to take home the Heisman?
If I had a vote, I would definitely put my first place vote for probably Robert Griffin III. I'm really looking forward to this Heisman where there's not a clear winner. all the polls that have been given out by ESPN and SportsCenter, like they've all been really close, and there's no clear winner. I'm really excited to see who's going to win it, but I really think Robert Griffin III should take it.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points there, but I still think it's Andrew Luck because all the hype. Some people say, like yourself, say he hasn't lived up to it. But I think just the stuff, he's obviously, we all know his stats, how great he is. But the stuff he does at the line of scrimmage, you're not going to find another kid in college doing that, calling audibles at the line of scrimmage, checking out the bad plays and the good plays. So, it should be interesting how that turns out.
Yeah, he's definitely the number one NFL prospect, but I really don't know if he's the Heisman winner. He's not the best player in college football. He's the best pro in college football, in my opinion.
All right, going back to LSU, we're going to talk about the rematch coming up. So, first of all, what are your first impressions on the rematch?
I'm really looking forward to the game. I'm not one for defensive games. I like a lot of flash. That's why I thought Oklahoma State should have been in it.
A little
shootout. But, I'm really looking forward to seeing Trent Richardson get his revenge. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman, so he's definitely going to come in first. He's definitely going to be feeling some tension, so there's going to be bad blood there. And I'm really looking forward to watch LSU, play another game against another top 5 team.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, you just gave us a little about Trent Richardson and Tyrann Mathieu before. So let's go to Jordan Jefferson, who I think, I really don't like him as a quarterback. I don't think he's the best thrower in the world. However, he's like Tim Tebow. He will get the job done. He'll get you the W at the end of the day.
McCarron's a really fundamentally
Jordan Jefferson.
Jordan Jefferson, a really fundamentally sound quarterback. He's really good. He's really matured this year in his reads and his zone and man reads, whether what the defense is giving him. He's got 2 great receivers in Ruben Randall and Jordan Russell Shepard. Great receivers. He's got a great running game and a great offensive line. I don't see how I think the defense is coming to play.
Yeah.
So the only way LSU can guarantee themselves a victory is if Jordan Jefferson is an MVP and has at least a rushing down and a passing touchdown. That'd be huge.
Yeah, we just talked about, not just about A.J. McCarron. We know he's a great quarterback. Spotlight's definitely going to be on him to perform. What do you think?
A.J. McCarron was a very highly recruited quarterback coming out of, I believe, Alabama, out of the high school area.
Yeah.
And he really didn't, impress Nick Saban until his junior year after, what's his name left?
Wilson?
Wilson left, and he came to the starting role. He's really meshed with his tight end, Smelly. He's been really good. He's been really good compliment to Trent Richardson. And just like Jordan Jefferson, Alabama will only go as far as the offense takes them. And a huge part of the offense is A.J. McCarron.
Yeah. All right, Doug. And like we saw last time these two teams faced each other, the kicking game is actually going to be a huge factor. How much do you think is going to be on these kickers?
The kickers are going to have a lot on their backs. LSU probably has the best. Not just kicking is going to come huge. Special teams, punters.
Yeah.
The crazy Australian wing, punter for LSU has had a great season.
Yeah.
The kicking game for both teams has been very shaky during the season, but if both comes to play, it should be fine. They should be fine.
All right. And Doug, there's been a lot of noise about teams that are losing out, like Oklahoma State and Boise State. I mean, we all know what happened to Oklahoma State, but what do you think about Boise State not getting into a BCS game?
I've been really good. I've been a fan of the BCS system for the past few years, but this year definitely hasn't helped out their cause, to try and get followers, because just so many teams missed out and so many teams that didn't deserve it got in. I have nothing there. I'm okay with Alabama LSU, the rematch. I'm okay with it. But then you go to the fact that Virginia Tech and Michigan are in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Both have 2 losses. Why isn't Boise State in there? The fact that there's a rule that you can't have more than 2 teams in a conference.
Which is happening with Arkansas.
Arkansas
right now.
is probably the third, if not 4th best team in the nation.
Yep.
And they're not going to get the chance to play in a BCS Bowl because the 2 best teams in the nation are in their conference.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Tune in next time on The Rain Delay when the hot stove, the NBA, and NFL are the hot topics. Until then, see you later.